Chapter 33:15. Lu Yin truly did not know about the upper extremity, lower defense, heaven beyond heaven, and the 10 foundational laws. The ancestor of the ancient era had not mentioned it, perhaps because he was worried that it would put too much pressure on them and cause the Tianyuan universe to retreat. What do you mean by that? Xianxia was surprised. You don't know? I don't know. Old monster primordial origin sneered. It seems like your side is also disloyal. Someone wants to trick you into fighting a decisive battle with my spiritualized universe. Who is it? Was it a life form from the universe of consciousness? I guess that the life form of the conscious universe would betray us. Black Wuxian or White Wuxian? Black and White Godless came from the consciousness universe. They had betrayed the consciousness universe and joined the spiritualized universe. The spiritualized universe was worried and sent them to the Tianyuan universe to assist the Eternals. You don't need to know that. Since you want me to join the spiritualized universe, then you should tell me everything. Lu Yin was calm as Primordial Fiend had no other choice. Primordial Origin coughed up blood again. At that moment another person arrived. It was Chu Yi, who had gone to the Above Heaven sect to look for Lu Yin. He had learned that Lu Yin had gone to capture a hive and that Frisia had appeared. He had waited for a while, but when he saw that Lu Yin had yet to return, he hurried over. When Chu Yi arrived and saw that Xianxia was heavily injured, he was shocked. Xianxia? Primordial Origin looked at Chu Yi coldly before turning back to Lu Yin. The so-called upper extremity and lower extremity, heaven beyond heaven, and 10 base sequence supreme law refers to the absolute powerhouses that rule our spiritualized universe. The supreme laws are the 88 inherited sequence laws. They correspond to the sequence laws of your Tianyuan universe. And any expert who cultivates the sequence laws can fight against the experts of your Tianyuan universe's sequence laws. This is because even our spiritualized universe is unable to allow cultivators below the ancestor realm to master the sequence laws ahead of time. At most, they can only use the sequence laws to comprehend and gain a rudimentary understanding, making preparations to break through to the ancestor realm and grasp the sequence laws. This far surpasses your Tianyuan cosmos. Lord Lu, you still don't have a direction for your cultivation of the sequence laws, right? Lu Yin did not deny it, as he truly did not have a direction. Sequence rules? What kind of sequence rules? He didn't even know which one to cultivate. The 3 realms, 6 paths, and the others all cultivated the destruction of sequence rules. In other words, they broke the original rules and created their own. Logically speaking, the starry sky in his heart completely repelled other sequence particles, which was equivalent to a sequence rule. However, other than repelling sequence particles, there didn't seem to be any other ability in the path of sequence rules. He had never felt that he was a powerhouse of the sequence laws. This was also a question that he had been thinking about since the Battle of Immemorial City, but he still could not find a direction. Our spiritualized universe has a direction. We have a way to let every cultivator find a sequence law that suits them. We can avoid pointless cultivation and speed up the speed of cultivation. We can eliminate those who can't cultivate to the sequence law level and use resources reasonably. The 10 base sequence is the foundation of the sequence. You should have heard of this before, but I can tell you that other than the 10 base sequence, our spiritualized universe also has the foundation of the sequence. It's just that we haven't used it yet. Lu Yin's eyes narrowed. Chu Yi could not help but clench his fists. Was there more? Primordial Beginning sneered. Do you think the sequence foundation will not be destroyed? Could they maintain the number of 10 forever? You're wrong. The number of 10 bases is a tradition of our spiritualized universe. If we lose one, we'll immediately replenish it. This is the only way to ensure that there will always be a sequence of 10 bases. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been 10 bases a long time ago. Just like just now, if you had destroyed the landscape painting, our spiritualized universe would still be able to replenish one of its bases. Don't think that your opponent only has 10 bases. Even I don't know what kind of sequence foundation is being constructed. Only certain people from Beyond Heaven know. Beyond Heaven is the name of a palace that contains all the experts of the spiritualized universe. Our spiritualized universe was unified countless years ago, and any powerhouse born in the spiritualized universe must join Beyond Heaven. I am no exception. Beyond Heaven signifies that the spiritualized universe is at the pinnacle. It is not below any sky, but rather beyond heaven. The sky of the spiritualized universe is called the mulberry sky, and I am one of the mulberry heavens, representing the spiritualized universe's ruler. The 7 great mulberry heavens suppress the spiritualized universe, and above the 7 great mulberry heavens is the mulberry heavens. We are all under the orders of the mulberry heavens, and our lives belong to the mulberry heavens. In the entire spiritualized universe, the only one who can see the pinnacle is the mulberry heavens. The mulberry heavens are second only to the pinnacle of the spiritualized universe. The upper heaven and the lower heaven beyond heaven and the 10 base sequence law. Master Lu, how can your Tianyuan universe resist? During the Battle of Immemorial City I did not use the landscape map, but once I did, Old Man Mu might not be my match. Similarly, I have 6 others and above me is the mulberry heavens. How can you fight against them? Joining my spiritualized universe is your only way out. Master Lu, including your masters Old Man Mu and Tai Chu, can all become mulberry heavens and become unrivaled powerhouses in my spiritualized universe. Whether it is the spiritualized universe or the Tianyuan universe, it makes no difference to you. Why care about the lives of ants in this universe? I can even ask the mulberry heavens to preserve your heavenly sect and let the entire sect join beyond heaven to preserve your era. Lu Yin suddenly attacked and knocked Yuanqi unconscious with a single palm strike. As he watched Yuanqi collapse, Chu Yi said, "Ancestor did not tell us everything." Lu Yin said, "She was afraid that we would not want to start a war with the spiritualized universe. Now we have a clear understanding of the spiritualized universe. The mulberry heavens, the 7 great mulberry heavens and the sequence law. They are truly powerful," Chu Yi said. Lu Yin smiled. "An unknown enemy is the most terrifying. Now the spiritualized universe does not seem that scary to me. There are not many in the Tianyuan universe who can fight against mulberry heavens. Their numbers are not even comparable to mulberry heavens, let alone mulberry heavens. With their sequence law they will not be easy to deal with." Then why did Yuanqi not use the landscape map during the Battle of Immemorial City? I just attacked the landscape map. This sequence law has a miraculous effect on those below the primordial realm. Even Progenitor Chen was almost imprisoned, but it does not have much effect on those who do not have laws close to them. This old man is not telling the truth. If the spiritualized universe could really crush us, they would have attacked long ago. Even so, if we really fought, we would definitely be at a disadvantage. The main thing is how strong mulberry heavens is to be able to suppress Yuanqi at his peak. Also, how many experts are there in beyond heaven? I forgot to ask him about Tianxi and Zhang Yan's levels. But it is definitely not mulberry heavens, or Zhang Yan would not have schemed against Yuanqi. Chu Yi was surprised. Zhang Yan schemed against Yuanqi? Lu Yin explained what had happened and Chu Yi thought about it. If that is the case, Zhang Yan should be a powerhouse in beyond heaven, but she has not reached mulberry heavens level. This is not good news. I would rather she be mulberry heavens. Lu Yin was helpless. I would also rather she be mulberry heavens. 7 mulberry heavens and 1 mulberry heavens were absolute experts. However, it was difficult to know how many sequence law realm powerhouses and progenitors there were in the spiritualized universe. According to Yuanqi, the spiritualized universe's cultivation method would definitely be able to nurture a considerable number of sequence law realm powerhouses. Lu Yin felt a headache coming on. He had created a large number of progenitors to deal with the unknown spiritualized universe, but this hive was also a problem. Lu Yin looked into the distance and saw that Hen Xen and Team E were dead. Not even their corpses remained. Originally, Lu Yin did not think much of Hen Xen and the others. After all, when Hen Xen and the others had first appeared, they had a conflict with Lu Yin and schemed against each other. Furthermore, they were disciples of the ancient god and were feared by the above heaven sect. However, after the ancient god's tragic death in battle, everyone's impression of Hen Xen and Team E had changed. Unfortunately, the ancient god was dead and so were Hen Xen and Team E. His impression of the third mainland was slowly disappearing. He also did not know where the hive that had nurtured Frisia had gone. The hive and the spiritualized universe had both gathered in this universe, and it had not happened overnight. The arrival of the lost tribe would eventually attract the attention of the immortal master of the hive, which had led Lu Yin to draw out the card and bring the hive here. The spiritualized universe had been plotting against the Tianyuan universe for countless years, starting from the era of the above heaven sect. These were not problems at the moment, but rather problems that had developed over the years. Now all of them had to be dealt with just like how they had dealt with the Eternals. Lu Yin suddenly thought of something and decided to head to Immemorial City. As for Primordial Fiend, he would ask Chu Yi to capture him and bring him to the Above Heaven sect. Lu Yin had originally wanted to kill Primordial Fiend, but Primordial Fiend was a way for them to understand the spiritualized universe. Progenitor she might not be reliable, so it was better to keep him locked up. Primordial Fiend did not want to die and he was willing to say anything to survive. On the other side, the landscape painting had used the so close, yet worlds apart sequence to escape Lu Yin's control, tearing through the void several times to prevent Lu Yin from catching up. Within the landscape painting, Zhou Xian heaved a sigh of relief. He had finally escaped. Primordial Fiend, thank you for helping me escape. Don't worry, I will take care of your descendants. Xianxia's position had finally been vacated, but there were still competitors, especially that woman. After so many years, Primordial Fiend might not be the only Xianxia who had died. Zhou Xian smiled when he thought of this, and his originally lively gaze became even more lively. It seems that Senior Primordial Fiend has met with misfortune, the Forgotten Ruins deity sighed with regret. Wang Xiaoyu calmly stood at the peak of the mountain, looking at the land where Progenitor Chen had fought. At this moment the entire landscape painting had shrunk by more than 10 times. Some of it had filled in the land, mountains and rivers, but most of it had been consumed in the battle with Lu Yin. At the foot of the mountain the man with the hive looked around nervously. He did not know where he was, but he knew that he could not make the slightest movement. Zhou Xian said, Senior Primordial Fiend will not die in vain. Our spiritualized universe will definitely avenge him. What do we do now? The Forgotten Ruins deity asked. Zhou Xian looked at the man at the foot of the mountain. Where's the hive? The man hesitated, but under Zhou Xian's gaze he still took out the hive and handed it to Zhou Xian. Zhou Xian took the hive with a strange gaze. Is this the thing that made the Above Heaven sect search for it with great fanfare? It allowed an ant like you to fight against a half-ancestor and almost escape. Is this the inheritance of an insect? How many types of insects are there? The man was about to answer when he suddenly stared blankly behind Zhou Xian. He had to attend the annual meeting, so his schedule was packed. Speaking of which, what if he got airsick? Chapter 33:16. Seeing the man's gaze, Zhou Xian's heart sank. She subconsciously wanted to leave, but her back was suddenly hit. Her mind went blank and she forgot everything. Where she was, what she did, her name, techniques, combat skills, and so on. Everything was forgotten in an instant. She even forgot to look back as she stared blankly at the mountains and land in front of her. Behind her, in the eyes of Wang Xiaoyu and the man in the nest, the god of forgetfulness's gaze was calm. Her temperament was completely different from before, like a rose blooming in a dark abyss. Both her clothes and veil were dark and deep. When Zhou Xian was hit by the forgetfulness technique, her hand gently pressed on Zhou Xian's shoulder. In an instant, the turbulent sequence particles spread wildly and completely invaded Zhou Xian's body. Zhou Xian was like a puppet standing there blankly, not knowing anything. 9 wolves appeared in the sky and roared at the sky. The man who got the nest was so scared that his legs turned to jelly. He looked at everything in horror. The 9 huge wolf heads brought with them a monstrous power, as if they were going to devour the world. Wang Xiaoyu stood at the peak of the mountain as the wind blew past and lifted her hair. She just watched calmly. With a hiss, a line of blood streaked across and spilled on the ground in a straight line. Zhou Xian was still staring blankly ahead. In her eyes the light faded and she slowly fell. The god of forgetfulness retracted her hand and the sequence particles disappeared. The 9 wolves also dispersed at the same time. She looked up again and smiled at Wang Xiaoyu. Her smile was so beautiful, flirtatious and extremely seductive. See Xiaoyu, I told you it'll be quick. Hee. Wang Xiaoyu and the god of forgetfulness looked at each other. Congratulations, ancestor, for mastering the landscape map. The god of forgetfulness sighed deeply and looked like she had a headache. But we haven't mastered it yet. We've been here for so long and we still haven't figured out how to control this sequence foundation. Xiaoyu, you're so smart, do you understand it? Oh, so cold. Alright, I'll study it slowly. After saying that, she looked at the foot of the mountain and smiled at the man again. Her smile made the man's heart skip a beat and he walked towards the god of forgetfulness uncontrollably. The god of forgetfulness was beautiful to begin with. The attraction she brought to the man was indescribable, even if he had just experienced a monstrous power. Even if it was an abyss of certain death, the man was willing to step in. He was completely attracted by the god of forgetfulness at this moment. "What's your name?" The god of forgotten ruins sized up the man. Her eyes curved into a beautiful arc like a crescent moon. The man suddenly reacted and looked at the god of forgotten ruins in horror and fear. What happened to him just now? He thought of the 9 wolves swallowing the sky. He looked at Zhou Xian's body on the ground and swallowed his saliva. Suddenly, the man felt a chill run down his spine. He looked at the god of forgetfulness again. The god of forgetfulness was clearly smiling, but that smile made him extremely terrified. "I'm Yan Gang. How did you get this hive?" "I got it by accident. You can say that I picked it up. You really are the chosen one. Tell me, what do you want to do with this hive?" Yan Gang looked at the hive in the Forgotten Ruins god's hands. He was confused at first, but it was soon replaced by hatred. "I want revenge. I want revenge on Lu Yin." Lu Yin. The god of Forgotten Ruins was surprised. Atop the mountain peak, Wang Xiaoyu's eyes flashed. The entire universe knew who Lu Yin was, but that did not mean that they were qualified to interact with him, much less become enemies with him. Not everyone was qualified to become enemies with Lu Yin, let alone take revenge on him. The god of Forgotten Ruins was really curious. "Ah, revenge on Lu Yin? Tell me, what feud do you have with Lu Yin?" Yan Gang recalled and clenched his fists. "I was originally from the Fire's Melt planet in the Outerverse Frostwave Weave. I followed the Sky Flame tribe's young master Yen Feng and knew him since young. We had a very good relationship, but when I went to Earth to train, I became enemies with Lu Yin for various reasons. Then at the young master's wedding with the Great Yu Empire's Jenny Anna, Lu Yin appeared and killed the young master in front of everyone, destroying Fire's Melt planet. It's all Lu Yin's fault. Otherwise, Fire's Melt planet would still exist. All these years I've been bullied and humiliated. Many people wanted to curry favor with Lu Yin and made a list of those who had offended him. No matter where I went, I would be found by those people. They did not kill me and only humiliated me to attract Lu Yin's attention. They did not treat me as a person at all." Yan Gang squatted down and gritted his teeth as he stared at the ground. "I've been living in hell for the past few decades. I wanted to die many times, but they saved me. I didn't dare contact my family, and I didn't dare to get close to anyone. I just wandered the universe alone like a toy. They believed that Lu Yin would find out about me one day and praise me. I hate those people. I hate Lu Yin even more. I hate everything in this universe." The god of Forgotten Ruins looked at Yan Gang, who was squatting on the ground. "What a pitiful fellow. You still do not understand reality." Yan Gang raised his head and looked at the god of Forgotten Ruins in confusion. The god of Forgotten Ruins looked down at him. "Do you know what the greatest revenge is?" Yan Gang was at a loss. "It is to let those who think they can curry favor with be humiliated and tortured by the people they need to curry favor with. That is the greatest revenge. Those people want to humiliate you to get close to Lu Yin. Why don't you hand over the hive and bury the hatchet with Lu Yin? You will be rewarded by the above heaven sect and humiliate them instead." The god of Forgotten Ruins said slowly. Yan Gang's jaw dropped. "That's right, why didn't he do that? Those people wanted to get close to Lu Yin, but if he handed over the hive and got closer to Lu Yin before them, he would be rewarded by Lu Yin. He could then use Lu Yin's power to humiliate them. How desperate would they be? The closer they want to get to Lu Yin, the more they understand Lu Yin's power. And you, who can borrow Lu Yin's power, what kind of power would you have?" The god of Forgotten Ruins' voice sounded like a demon's whisper. Yan Gang was agitated. "Yes, I want to hand over the hive. I want to borrow Lu Yin's power to humiliate those people. Those bastards, they will die. I want them to die." "Ah, Xiaoyu, look at how cute this fellow is. He even believes this." "Ah." The god of Forgotten Ruins laughed. Wang Xiaoyu calmly looked at the god of Forgotten Ruins playing tricks on Yan Gang without any expression. Yan Gang was stunned. He looked at the god of Forgotten Ruins blankly. "No, is that wrong?" The god of Forgotten Ruins shook her head and looked at Yan Gang pitifully. "Little fellow, your enemy is Lu Yin. Have you forgotten?" Yan Gang did not understand what the god of Forgotten Ruins meant. Was this woman right? Should he hand over the hive? He was completely confused. What a stupid little fellow. Since you have control of the hive, follow us for now. I want to see how powerful this hive is to make our little Lu Yin so afraid. After speaking, The god of forgotten ruins walked out of the starry sky with the landscape map. She was still unable to control the map from the inside. Just as she walked out of the starry sky, the god of forgotten ruins' expression changed. She looked into the distance angrily. Over there, Progenitor Qin walked out. You're really persistent. Xiaoxiang, one day I will. You'll pay the price. Progenitor Qin looked at the landscape map. Where's that old fellow? He had just tracked here and did not know that primordial old monster was left behind by Lu Yin. He also did not know that Lu Yin had encountered the landscape map. He's in the map. Do you want to be trapped again? Come if you can. The god of forgotten ruins provoked and entered the map. Progenitor Qin shook his head. If that old fellow is still here, he won't let you touch the map. After speaking, he stepped out and came to the outside of the map. He entered without hesitation. He looked at the surrounding mountains and rivers. It had shrunk so much? The god of forgotten ruins stared at Progenitor Qin. Xiaoxiang, you really dare to come in? Progenitor Qin snorted. If I can get out once, I can do it again. It seems that old fellow is really not here. Wang Miao Miao, what's going on with Xiaoyu? The god of forgotten ruins laughed. Ask her yourself. Why are you asking me? At the foot of the mountain, Yan Gang collapsed. Xiaoxiang? Wasn't that Progenitor Qin's name? How could he meet such a legendary person? He relied on the hive to step out of this level. He could not understand. There were more and more legendary figures. Progenitor Qin looked at the peak of the mountain. Wang Xiaoyu was as calm as ever. I'm a traitor to humanity. If you want to end it yourself, I can do it. I betrayed humanity willingly. There's no point in saying more. Progenitor Qin attacked, but not Wang Xiaoyu but the god of forgotten ruins. The god of forgotten ruins had expected this. He struck out with his palm. The art of forgetfulness made Progenitor Qin stunned for a moment. In a battle between masters, a moment of distraction could lead to irreversible consequences. However, the god of forgotten ruins did not attack because she was also stunned. Progenitor Qin also used the art of forgetfulness. Progenitor Qin also knew the art of forgetfulness of the Wang family. Both of them were stunned by the power of forgetfulness. The god of forgotten ruins gritted her teeth in anger. She had no advantage against Progenitor Qin. Progenitor Qin understood the power of the Wang family and even learned it. With her own talent, she had fought with Progenitor Qin in the ancestral world. Although 8 of Progenitor Qin's 9 doppelgangers were destroyed, the remaining one was enough to put the god of forgotten ruins at a disadvantage. This was because this one was the strongest. This one had been silent in the burial garden for many years and created a chain of palms that stunned the one true god. The god of forgotten ruins was easily suppressed by Progenitor Qin and was forced to retreat. Progenitor Qin's chain of palms directly used the sequence particles in the landscape painting to form a surging sequence rule. The god of forgotten ruins almost vomited blood. She had waited so long for Yuanqi's accident to happen. The landscape painting that she stole from Zhang Yan was not as handy as Progenitor Qin's. Progenitor Qin's keen sense of battle was not something the god of forgotten ruins could resist. She had known this a long time ago. In that era, Progenitor Qin and Progenitor Ku had stunned the Eternals and made the 7 heavenly gods focus on them. Xiaoyu, what are you waiting for? The god of forgotten ruins shouted. The 9 wolves swallowing the sky were destroyed by Progenitor Qin. The mountains and rivers disappeared continuously, turning into sequence particles that Progenitor Qin borrowed and integrated into his chain of palms. Above Yan Gang's head, the mountains shattered. Everything around them became illusory. It was all fake. At this moment, a king's staff appeared in Progenitor Qin's hand. It was Wang Xiaoyu's talent, the Void King's staff. Can you take the king's staff? Progenitor Qin looked at the king's staff in a daze. In silence, the king's staff turned into a stream of light and penetrated Progenitor Qin's body. Blood flowed from the corner of Progenitor Qin's mouth. He slowly turned his head to look at Wang Xiaoyu in the distance. Wang Xiaoyu was still calm. If you don't attack me, you will die. Chapter 33:17. The Void King's scepter's gift was very special. Only when most people in the surrounding area recognized the scepter as having the temperament of a king could the scepter be used. Otherwise, they would be injured by the scepter. Ancestor Qin was powerful and an elite, but that didn't mean he had the temperament of a king. Those were 2 different concepts. Obviously, in this landscape painting, no one recognized Ancestor Qin as a king. He was strong but not a king. The Void King's scepter appeared in Ancestor Chen's hand again. Wang Xiaoyu's voice sounded in his ears. Can you take the scepter? The light passed through. Ancestor Chen took a step back and was injured by the scepter again. Then the scepter appeared again. The light passed through Ancestor Chen's body again and again. Ancestor Chen looked at Wang Xiaoyu with a complicated and unbelievable look. The god of forgotten ruins came to Wang Xiaoyu's side and raised his hand. Ancestor Chen's eyes widened. He crushed the scepter in his hand and hurt Wang Xiaoyu instead, causing her to cough up blood. But he couldn't care less. Wang Miao Miao, stop. The god of forgotten ruins' hand floated above Wang Xiaoyu's head. His lips curled up and his temperament was deep. He was like a black rose blooming in the abyss, tempting but dangerous. The Void King's scepter can't kill you no matter what. Xiaoyu's strength is far weaker than yours. But what if she dies? Wang Xiaoyu coughed and wiped the blood from her mouth. She turned her head. Ancestor, you want to kill me? The god of forgotten ruins said helplessly. Xiaoyu, I have no other choice. Xiaoshang is not easy to deal with. He's staring at us not because of me but because of you. Tell me, should I use you to threaten him? Wang Xiaoyu's eyes were cold. I've never betrayed you. The god of forgotten ruins smiled coldly. So you should help me. In the distance, Ancestor Chen stared at this scene. He didn't expect the god of forgotten ruins to threaten him with Wang Xiaoyu's life. Wang Miao Miao, I won't stop you. Leave behind the landscape painting Xiaoyu and the insect nest. Then you can go. The god of forgotten ruins smiled at Ancestor Chen. You could find me because of the pattern you left on my face. It disgusts me. Xiaoshang, what you've brought to me won't end so easily. What do you want to do? Ancestor Chen's face darkened. The god of forgotten ruins approached Wang Xiaoyu's face and gently stroked her hair. Look at this girl. She used to love you so much and saved your life. Even in her dreams she calls out your name. What do you think you should do for her? The only reason you're still alive is because of her. Do you know why she betrayed the fifth mainland? Wang Xiaoyu shouted, Ancestor. The god of forgotten ruins smiled. Alright, I won't say anything. She looked at Ancestor Chen. Xiaoshang, you owe her a lot. Patriarch Chen stared at Wang Xiaoyu. What's going on? Wang Xiaoyu and Progenitor Chen looked at each other. I have never regretted betraying the fifth mainland. I have cultivated divine power and the Eternals are my everything. Patriarch Chen stared at the god of forgetful ruins. Wang Miao Miao, what do you want to do? Just say it. The god of forgotten ruins licked his lips and smiled. It's simple. You return to the burial garden and don't go out for 1,000 years. Ancestor Chen's eyes flashed. How is it? It didn't cause any harm to you and it didn't make you betray the humans. It's simple, isn't it? The god of forgotten ruins said slowly. Ancestor Chen looked at her. I can't do it. The god of forgotten ruins raised an eyebrow. You don't want Wang Xiaoyu's life anymore? You should be able to do anything for her, right? Yes. Give the landscape painting and the hive to Lu Yin and I'll take 3 moves from you. Within these 3 moves I won't resist, fight back or dodge. Ancestor Chen's gaze was piercingly cold. The god of forgotten ruins smiled. Won't resist? Won't fight back? Won't dodge? Xiaoshang, you're courting death. Wang Miao Miao, I've been entangled with you for too long and it's time to end it. Now that the above heaven sect has been established, I have no regrets even if I die. However, you have to give the landscape painting and the hive to Lu Yin, and tell him about Xiaoyu's situation after 3 moves. These are the conditions. Do you agree or not? Is it worth it? If you want to know about Xiaoyu, you can come to me. Just for the landscape painting and the hive? The god of forgotten ruins looked around and glanced at Xiaoshang. She knew Xiaoshang well and he was definitely not someone who wanted to die. However, at this moment he was doing this. Were these 2 things more valuable than his life? The landscape painting was understandable. After all, one could use this sequence to find the cultivation method of the spiritualized universe. However, was the hive really that important? Progenitor Chen frowned. Do you agree or not? Yan Gang trembled and did not dare to make a sound. In this place he did not have the power to make any decisions. The god of forgotten ruins breathed into Wang Xiaoyu's neck. Xiaoyu, do you agree or not? Wang Xiaoyu was calm. Can I kill him in 3 moves? I should be able to. The god of forgotten ruins' eyes flashed fiercely as she licked her lips. Wang Xiaoyu looked at progenitor Qin and he looked back at her. It's worth it to use this opportunity to get rid of humanity's greatest enemy. Xiaoxiang is praised by Lord Eternity for his combat prowess. His existence will always be a threat. Progenitor Chen's eyes dimmed. The god of forgotten ruins smiled. Xiaoxiang, did you hear that? You still want to continue the deal? Wait, you can't provoke him. Otherwise he'll be disheartened and give up on you. Perhaps he'll cancel the deal, hee. Progenitor Chen clasped his hands behind his back. Since I proposed it, I won't regret it. Give him the landscape painting in the hive. Tell me about Xiaoyu after 3 moves. Wang Miao, do you agree or not? Fine, I agree. Xiaoxiang, you'll definitely die. The god of forgotten ruins sneered. Hand over the landscape painting and the hive first and I'll take 3 moves from you. Progenitor Chen's expression was solemn. The god of forgotten ruins raised an eyebrow. Hand over the items first? What if you're lying? Xiaoyu is in your hands. The god of forgotten ruins believed him. If Wang Xiaoyu was no longer worthy of Xiaoxiang's attention, he could directly attack and snatch the landscape painting and the hive. There was no need to beat around the bush. Besides, the 2 items were not that important. It would be better if he could get them, but it did not matter if he could not. You can only get the landscape painting and the hive first. I'll give you the 2nd item after the 3rd move, the god of forgotten ruins said. Progenitor Chen's gaze turned cold. Fine. Under the boundless starry sky, the god of forgotten ruins led Wang Xiaoyu and Yen Gang to confront Progenitor Chen. Hand over the landscape painting first, Progenitor Chen said faintly. Compared to the hive, the above heaven sect had been destroyed a lot, so it was not that urgent. However, the landscape painting was different. It represented the foundation of the 10 sequences in the spiritualized universe. It was an absolute treasure. The god of forgotten ruins sighed. I'm regretting it. After all, it's a treasure of the spiritualized universe. Did I just exchange it for Xiaoxiang's life? If you don't agree to my conditions, you won't be able to leave today. If you want to kill Xiaoyu, I'll kill you too. I'll die with her. You know I'm not afraid of death, Progenitor Qin said bluntly. The god of forgotten ruins rolled his eyes. Who isn't afraid of death? But since I've agreed, I won't go back on my word. After he finished speaking, he waved his hand and the landscape painting was pushed toward Progenitor Qin. Progenitor Qin took the landscape painting and directly tore open the void and threw it over. On the other side of the void was the primordial space. The god of forgotten ruins did not stop him. She watched as the landscape painting was thrown into the primordial space. This item was not fated with her. First move. The god of forgotten ruins raised his hand, and 9 huge wolf heads filled the sky. 9 wolves devour the heavens. This was a move that the god of forgotten ruins often used, and Lu Yin and the others were familiar with it. However, they did not know that the 9 wolves devour the heavens had another move. This move had been abandoned by the god of forgotten ruins because she had used it for too long. In battle, no enemy would give her such a long time to use it, but at this moment she used it. Above the starry sky, the 9 huge wolf heads kept flickering and finally merged into one. Celestial wolf slaughter. The huge wolf head almost swallowed the entire universe and turned into absolute darkness as it blasted toward Progenitor Qin. Boom. The starry sky distorted and scattered in all directions. The world of nothingness exploded and spread out in all directions. Progenitor Qin spat out a mouthful of blood. On the surface of his body, the celestial wolf slaughter kept tearing his body apart, causing him to see nothing but black and blood. The pain of his flesh being torn apart was like being cut into pieces. The celestial wolf slaughter almost penetrated his body. The whole process was not long, but the pain it brought to Progenitor Qin was incomparably long. He panted heavily and stood in the starry sky. He looked down and saw that a large piece of flesh on his chest had been bitten off. His organs were clearly visible and his bones were broken. First move. Progenitor Chen's gaze was cold as he stared at the god of forgotten ruins. In the distance, the god of forgotten ruins' lips curled up. Not bad, right, Xiaoxiang? Cut the crap. Second move, Progenitor Qin shouted. The god of forgotten ruins touched her face. That move definitely couldn't kill you, but it brought you great pain. This is the price you had to pay for imprinting that image on my face. Xiaoxiang, you were insufferably arrogant back then. Your 9 clones were invincible and no one dared to fight you at your peak. Have you ever thought that I would bring you such pain one day? Emotions are indeed a human's greatest weakness. Our little Lu Yin also has this weakness. It seems that I'll have to change my strategy to deal with him. He's much more difficult to deal with than you. After she finished speaking, her entire temperament changed and she once again turned into the black rose that grew in the abyss. The surrounding starry sky flowed as if it had collapsed into the abyss. Only the black roses grew in the starry sky. Progenitor Qin looked up at the beautiful black rose with a solemn expression. The black rose was the god of Forgotten Ruins' ancestral world. She had rarely used it in the war against the Fifth Mainland and the Six Direction Association. A person's ancestral world represented that person's inner world, and the god of Forgotten Ruins had done his best to hide his inner world. But now she had no choice but to use it. This was her second move and she had to kill Progenitor Qin as much as possible. The black rose entered his body and Progenitor Qin closed his eyes. Immediately after, black petals bloomed from his body. He knelt down on one knee and propped himself up in the void. His eyes were wide open as he panted. In that instant the black rose bloomed. It was beautiful, but it gave him a feeling of death. He did not resist, counterattack or dodge. He simply took on the attack from the god of Forgotten Ruins' ancestral world, and he almost could not withstand it. At that moment he suddenly envied Withering. If Withering had an ability like that, Progenitor Qin would have dared to take on 30 moves, let alone 3. Withering's defenses were simply abnormal. Chapter 33:18. Ancestor Qin knew that what he was best at was still killing, fighting and creating battle techniques, not passively taking a beating. Spitting out a mouthful of blood, he raised his head with difficulty and stared at the god of Forgotten Ruins, Hive. The god of Forgotten Ruins praised, "To be able to withstand my Black Rose's ancestral world, Xianxia, you are indeed much stronger than the other 8 doppelgangers. You should know that one of your doppelgangers died under the Black Rose." Insect nest. Ancestor Qin said in a low voice. The god of Forgotten Ruins sighed and looked at Yen Gang. Yen Gang couldn't help but walk towards her. Is this hive really that important to Lu Yin? Or is it a huge threat to this universe? Forgotten Ruins god was puzzled. Qin Zhu stared at her. You want to go back on your word? The god of Forgetting Ruins smiled coquettishly as her bright eyes swept towards Xiaoshang. I'm a woman. With that said, she struck out with her palm and sequence particles wrapped around her palm. It was the meditative forgetting technique. Patriarch Chen's eyes went wide and he took a step forward. When he reappeared, he also unleashed a palm strike. Bang! The void exploded. The black rose that had yet to wither directly entered the body of the god of oblivion. It was a series of palm strikes from Ancestor Qin. He borrowed the power of godly ancestor Wang Su's world with the linked palms. The god of Forgotten Ruins spat out blood and flew backward. His face turned pale. How could this be? Xiaoshang had actually skipped the time? That was Wu Xing's consummate skill. How could he know it? Progenitor Qin defeated the Forgetful Ruins deity with a single palm strike. Wang Miao Miao, you deserve to die. The god of Forgotten Ruins coughed up blood again. His eyes suddenly turned red and lanterns appeared around him. Without me there is no other. Give up your thoughts and live with heaven and earth. It was a sad song that sent Jun Xiaoyao off. True God Bayer used the Mahasvara. Sparse autumn waters, hazy beauty looking east. It's hard to see my family members. I'll climb to the top of the sky alone for the rest of my life. True God, freedom technique. Patriarch Qin leaped over the lantern and reached for the Forgetful Ruins deity. Suddenly, a royal scepter appeared in his hand. It was the Void Royal Scepter again. With a bang, Ancestor Qin directly crushed it. At this time, a lantern with Ancestor Chen's portrait on it suddenly shattered. Ancestor Chen's body trembled and his face turned ashen. He coughed out a mouthful of blood and squatted on the ground again. This is... The god of Forgotten Ruins took the opportunity to come to Wang Xiaoyu's side and grabbed Yen Gang at the same time. Let's go. Just as Progenitor Qin was about to attack, the lanterns shattered one by one. It was as if an invisible heavy blow had landed on Progenitor Chen's body, making it difficult for him to track them down. He could only let the god of forgetfulness and the others escape. After a long while, as all the lanterns shattered, the starry sky returned to normal. Ancestor Qin sat down cross-legged and let out a long sigh. He had never fought against the true god's freedom technique, so he was completely unprepared. However, even if he was prepared, he might not be able to do anything against the 3 ultimate skills of a true god. Skipping time could allow him to recover instantly, but there were experts who could find the skip time. Once they found the skip time, they could instantly injure him severely in future battles. This was not what Ancestor Chen wanted. Unless he had no other choice, he would not skip time. The reason why he was able to withstand the God of Oblivion's 3 attacks was because he had the ability to skip time. However, the God of Oblivion was not stupid and immediately went back on his words. Fortunately, the landscape painting had been snatched away. Lu Yin arrived at Primeval City to look for Mr. Mu. Primordial Fiend has been captured. Mr. Mu was flabbergasted, but he soon understood. He lost one of his bells and his strength has decreased tremendously. He's about the same level as the 4 Directions Guardian. It's normal to capture him, but don't kill him yet. He might be useful in dealing with the spiritualized universe. He's afraid of dying. Lu Yin nodded. After a moment of silence, Mr. Mu said, "Is there anything you want to ask?" Lu Yin thought about it. "Master, what's the name of your universe?" Mr. Mu laughed. "There's no name." "No name?" Lu Yin was surprised. Mr. Mu looked into the distance. "Only similar universes are distinguished by names. If there were no spiritualized universes, would there be a name like the Tianyuan universe? Are you saying that when you were in your own universe, you did not come into contact with creatures from other universes?" "I did, but creatures from other universes also came to our universe by accident. How could they have the right to name our universe?" Lu Yin thought about it and agreed. "That's right. Ordinary creatures do not have the right to name a universe. Who decided on the name of our Tianyuan universe?" Mr. Mu looked at Lu Yin. Tai Chu had the same question, so he did not dare to recover. Lu Yin's expression froze. "Fate. Only fate could decide the name of a universe. Master Grass. Are you suddenly asking about my universe because you're worried that the enemy of my universe will come to the Tianyuan universe?" Mr. Mu asked. Lu Yin did not hide it. The spiritualized universe is nearby, and the insect hive universe has suddenly appeared. The Tianyuan universe will be in trouble once the insect hive universe develops. If the enemy of your universe appears again, then probably not, Mr. Mu said. After some thought, he added, "If it wasn't for the intervention of that omnipotent existence back then, it could actually be called fate. If it wasn't for the intervention of fate, we wouldn't have been defeated. Our enemy can't reproduce as quickly as the hive. Even if there was a threat, it wouldn't have happened so quickly." "Then what about fate?" Lu Yin asked. Mr. Mu looked at Lu Yin. "That is not something you and I need to worry about." Lu Yin recalled Wang Wen's analogy. A fisherman's fate was the fisherman. They were all fish, and only the fisherman could compete with the fisherman. Perhaps Mr. Mu wished that the fate of their universe would appear and compete with Master Grass. Such an existence was supreme and would not allow its own kind to compete. It would be best if one of them died. In the heavenly sect, a group of people surrounded the landscape painting. "This is the landscape painting? It is indeed constructed from sequence particles. Once one enters, they will be easily buried by the sequence particles. Similar sequence particles accumulated for countless years to construct such a treasure. The spiritualized universe's fixed cultivation method is indeed effective. I thought that the spiritualized universe would focus on the sequence foundation, but they still developed spiritualized weapons. Although the focus is still on external objects, they are very powerful. Primordial Origin's Dao Bell was destroyed and his strength decreased greatly. With the Dao Bell, he stood at the peak of the immemorial battle. The spiritualized universe has many experts like him. If our heavenly sect had lasted until now, we would have similar treasures." Impossible. Master will not completely fix the cultivation method. He will only allow it to develop and even create an origin tribulation. Although the origin tribulation is a calamity, it brings more opportunities. Master's not wrong. No one is saying that Master is wrong. It is just that we will never develop like the spiritualized universe. Everyone chimed in one after another, analyzing the landscape painting. From time to time they would praise Progenitor Chen. As an ancient senior, Progenitor Chen was a junior in the 3 realms and 6 paths Mu Shen, Su Zhu, and the others were much older than Progenitor Chen. Especially Wu Tian, who looked at Progenitor Chen with admiration. "Not only did you break out of the landscape painting, But you also faced the true God's freedom technique head-on and created a miraculous chain of palms. No wonder the Eternals say that you are the most talented in battle. Progenitor Chen's face was still a little pale. That is the true God's freedom technique? As expected of one of the three ultimate techniques. This time Wang Miao Miao and the others escaped. It will not be so easy to find them. Lu Yin said, "It is already fortunate that you were able to snatch the landscape painting. The Forgotten Ruins deity is cunning. She escaped from several battles without suffering any injuries. She will not be easy to deal with." Lu Yin did not expect the Forgotten Ruins deity to have cultivated the true God's freedom technique. This woman had hidden her strength too well. He Wuxian had deliberately betrayed the Eternals and then followed the one true God to survive. The Forgotten Ruins deity had been active in various battles. Not only had she survived, but she had also hidden her strength. This woman seemed delicate, but she was more insidious and tenacious than anyone else. Lu Yin wanted to ask Progenitor Chen about Wang Xiaoyu's situation, but after thinking about it he decided against it. When Primordial Fiend was captured, Zhou Xian was the one who escaped with the landscape painting. You found the landscape painting not too long after I caught Primordial Fiend. Could it be that Zhou Xian was killed by the Forgotten Ruins deity? Lu Yin thought of something and asked. Everyone looked at Progenitor Chen. Zhou Xian was not weak. She was one of the top 5 experts on the bone galleys. She had been fighting with Mu Zhu and was also a powerhouse from the spiritualized universe. Progenitor Chen said, "It should be. The Forgotten Ruins deity could not control the landscape painting. Otherwise I would not have been able to snatch it. Although I did not see Zhou Yan's body, she should be dead." Lu Yin nodded. There were fewer and fewer enemies hiding in the Tianyuan universe. Now only the one true God He Wuxian Tiango, the Forgotten Ruins deity, and Wang Xiaoyu were left. As long as they could be dealt with, the Tianyuan universe would be rid of its internal threat. Though there was still the bug hive. The bug hive that nurtured Frisia had been taken away. This was a big problem. There were fewer and fewer bug hives, and they were destroyed as soon as they were discovered. In the beginning they were frequently discovered, but now not a single bug hive had been found for dozens of days. It would only become more difficult to find more bug hives. The Above Heaven sect constantly increased the severity of the punishment and rewards for hiding bug hives. When the rewards were raised to a certain level, the entire universe would go crazy. Whoever could find the person hiding the bug hive would reach the heavens in a single bound. The person hiding the bug hive would only find it difficult to move forward. The entire universe was searching for them, and even if they hid, it would not be easy to cultivate. Those bugs were too easy to identify, especially with a bug leading the way. The bugs would find the nearest bug hive on their own. This caused the person hiding the bug hive to leave after a while and constantly change their location. This was also a method of searching. A few months later, 2 more bug hives were discovered, and the people hiding them met with miserable fates. Unfortunately, they still could not find Yulong. Ever since the Battle of Immemorial City, where the Eternals were destroyed, the entire universe was no longer shrouded in their shadow. The endless battlefield, which had once belonged to the Six Directions Association, became a place that many people headed to. To cultivators, 100 years passed in the blink of an eye. However, too many things had happened in this short period of time. Many cultivators had just ended their seclusion and were preparing to go to the endless battlefield to fight the Eternals when they learned that the Eternals had been defeated and that the endless battlefield no longer existed. This news surprised many who had just ended their seclusion, and it also piqued the interest of many cultivators to head to the endless battlefield. They had heard countless times that the endless millstones of life and death were located there, and that there were too many strange heavens there. Now that the threat had disappeared, groups after groups of people headed to the endless battlefield to take a look. Chapter 33:19. Inside one of the spaceships, someone announced loudly, "Everyone, the dark spacetime is right in front of us." Master Lu once fought a sequence law powerhouse in the dark spacetime. His name is Mo Shang, and he's the one who was killed by Master Lu during the Celestial Sect's battle. This spaceship was specially sent to the endless battlefield to bring more than 10,000 people to visit this place that they had once avoided. The endless battlefield was a nightmare for the Six Directions Society. No one was willing to enter, as once they entered, they were only a hair's breadth away from death. Now, however, they could visit freely. Only those who had experienced the endless battlefield's nightmare could understand this feeling. Someone at the front introduced. The people behind discussed excitedly in the spaceship. The dark spacetime is here again. I didn't expect to see it again in my lifetime and in such a way. This big brother has been to the dark spacetime before. Someone was surprised. A long time ago. At that time I was fighting the Eternals and the Shadowmen in the dark spacetime. In the boundless darkness, everyone was an enemy except for myself. Every minute and every second felt like a year. The Shadowmen couldn't differentiate between friend and foe. I even suspected that they were helping the Eternals. People fell one after another. What a tragic war. To be able to return alive from the dark spacetime, this big brother is a hero. Someone admired him. Someone else agreed. As a hero. We're visiting the endless battlefield to see the countless human elites and reminisce about the past. I wouldn't dare call myself a hero. Only Master Lu is a hero. It was Master Lu who stopped us from being threatened by the Eternals and allowed us to visit the endless battlefield. Master Lu is everyone's hero. In a corner of the spaceship, Yu Leng calmly looked at the sky, a cold glint in his eyes. Hero? How could there be a hero in this universe? They were just people who fought to survive. If Lu Yin could do it, so could Yu Leng. He touched his cosmic ring. I wonder if there are hives in the endless battlefield. Have they been discovered before? Someone asked, drawing Yu Leng's attention. Someone else replied, I don't think so. Hey, you at the front. Have there ever been hives in the endless battlefield? The person who had been explaining the endless battlefield was stunned. Hives? No, but this is the focus of the celestial sect's search. It would be great if I did. Once I find the insectoid nest, I'll be able to reach the heavens in a single bound. It wouldn't be impossible for me to meet Master Lu. We'll definitely be able to see Master Lu. The heavenly sect places too much importance on the insect nest. Just thinking about the rewards makes me drool. Don't say any more. I don't even want to look around anymore. I just want to find the hive. Do you know how many people in the universe are frantically searching for hives? Their eyes had already turned red. That would depend on luck. Even though many hives had been discovered, in reality, there might not even be a single hive in a parallel universe. How big was a parallel universe? For example, in this dark spacetime, even if there is a hive, it will take us countless years to find it. Yeah, we can only rely on luck. Everyone, it's great that we can find the worm's nest, but it's also normal that we can't find it. What you will see next is the Great Stone Kong, that parallel universe. Yu Leng calmly looked at the starry sky and stroked his cosmic ring. He didn't plan to nurture a bug nest for the time being. The above heaven sect had such a tight grip that the moment the bugs came out, they would be discovered. The reason why he had joined this place to visit the endless battlefield was because there were bugs looking for him. The heavenly sect couldn't find the insect nest, but the insect nest could. Staying in one place would only make the insect nest find it, and that would be courting death, even though he really wanted to obtain the insect nest. More hives were found, but he was actually happy. If he was the only one left in the universe with a hive, he would one day cover the entire universe with insect nest. The above heavens sect wouldn't dare to act rashly, and he would become the next Eternals. The endless battlefield? This might even be the millstone of life and death. Yu Leng's gaze grew colder. In the above heavens sect, everyone had been studying the landscape painting for some time. It's strange. Why can't we use it? We can't control the sequence particles inside at all. Could it be that only those who cultivate the so close, yet worlds apart sequence can control it? Progenitor Chen said, that's impossible. Old Freak Primordial can control it. He definitely doesn't cultivate the so close, yet worlds apart sequence. Lu Yin also said, Zhang Yan didn't cultivate so close, yet worlds apart either. The god of forgotten ruins can't control it, and neither can we. That's strange. Unless the spiritualized universe has a unique way to control the sequence basis. There must be. The entire landscape painting is made up of sequence particles. What unique method can they have? Plus, everyone fell silent and looked at each other. Why didn't Old Freak Primordial use the landscape painting during the Battle of Immemorial City? Even if it was because his opponent was Mr. Mu, he could have given the landscape painting to others to use. There aren't many who have reached the primordial realm in the Immemorial City battlefield. The landscape painting is a great weapon. The Eternals didn't use it unless they can't use it. The universes aren't connected to each other. There must be a reason why the guardians of the four directions can come back and see creatures that don't belong to this universe. Lu Yin suddenly thought of something. Are you saying that the sequence rules are different? It's possible. Then how do you explain it to your master? Mr. Mu doesn't belong to our universe either. If it's different, he should have reminded us. This was also a problem. If it was because of the sequence rules, Mr. Mu and the others should have noticed it when they came from another universe. It was impossible for them not to remind Lu Yin and the others, including Great Elder Shan Gu and Ancestor Shi. Since it wasn't a problem with the sequence rules, Ling Qi, Wu Tian suddenly said. Everyone looked at him. Wu Tian looked at the landscape painting. Recently, I've been studying the cultivation methods of spiritualized universes. Unfortunately, I don't have anything to study, so I can only rely on my imagination to study their cultivation path. Spiritualized universes use Ling Qi as their starting point, which means that they're fundamentally different from us from the moment they start cultivating. It's like the ocean and the river. They're both fish, but they're completely different. If the cultivation world is an ecosystem, then the ecology of spiritualized universes is completely different from that of our Tianyuan universe. The sequence foundation can only be used by spiritualized universes' cultivation ecology. Before they had a definite answer, this explanation was clearly more acceptable. The problem now was that they had obtained the landscape painting, but they couldn't use it. They had originally wanted to use it to analyze spiritualized universes' cultivation methods, but in the end, they discovered that it was completely composed of sequence particles. If they spent some time, they might be able to figure out how to construct a landscape painting using sequence particles, which would allow them to deduce how to construct other sequence foundations. But what use would that be? The Tianyuan universe did not have a fixed sequence method, and it could not be passed down from one era to the next. Even if the spiritualized universes completely told the Tianyuan universe how to construct sequence foundations, the Tianyuan universe would not be able to do it. The two ecological environments could not merge with each other. The crowd dispersed one by one, no longer interested in the landscape painting. They could not use it, and it was meaningless. Progenitor Qin continued to search for the Forgotten Ruins deity. As long as he could not figure out what had happened to Wang Xiaoyu, he would not let the Forgotten Ruins deity off. Lu Yin watched Progenitor Chen's departing figure and could not help but feel sad for the Forgotten Ruins deity. Now that she had been targeted by Progenitor Chen, she would not be able to defeat him, nor would she be able to escape. Zhuzi, what are your sequence laws? Wu Tian suddenly asked Lu Yin. Lu Yin was stunned. This sort of question was not very appropriate, as it was like directly asking someone what trump cards they had. But since the other party was Wu Tian, Lu Yin did not think too much about it. Not yet. You can use the law to not get close to you, but you haven't comprehended any of the laws? I just broke through to the progenitor realm, so I haven't comprehended any sequence laws. As for this law of not getting close to me, it's rather unique. Wu Tian smiled and looked at Lu Yin before looking at the landscape painting. That smile was full of meaning. Lu Yin was puzzled. Senior, have you thought of something? Wu Tian pointed at the landscape painting. Lu Yin blinked, and his eyes suddenly lit up as he stared at the landscape painting. You mean? Wu Tian smiled. Isn't this a gift delivered to your doorstep? Since you can't use the sequence foundation, you can't return it to the spiritualized universe. The starry sky energy law in your heart does not get close to you, which is equivalent to having the prototype of a true starry sky. You have everything, yet you have nothing. What you lack the most is a sequence law. Lu Yin hesitated. But the sequence law of this landscape painting is so close, yet worlds apart. It's not useful. Wu Tian was amused. You still dislike it? How many sequence particles are there in the entire landscape painting? In terms of numbers, it's enough to surpass a primordial realm powerhouse. And you have the starry sky. Does the starry sky only have one sequence law? Lu Yin had thought about this before. I should have more than one. There are many. Wu Tian emphasized and looked at Lu Yin seriously. When you first started cultivating, someone must have told you that it's not good to focus on just one, but you forced your way through. You've cultivated more than anyone else, yet you've cultivated 4 inner worlds. You're the first person in history, and you're incomparably powerful. Now that you've come this far, do you still want to go back? Others have a sequence law. How can you? 1 begets 2, 2 begets 3, and 3 begets all things. Pillar, you control a starry sky, an entire starry sky. How can you be bound by numbers? Sequence law? 2 or like your inner worlds for too few, so few that it's pitiful. There should be countless. Lu Yin's expression changed. He had thought that he should have grasped more than one sequence law, but because his ancestral worlds had fused into the starry sky in his heart, he did not know where his path was. Was it one sequence law, 4 or even 5? But now Wu Tian was telling him that there were countless because he had a starry sky, a universe. Lu Yin clutched his heart. Countless? How long do I have to cultivate? Wu Tian laughed. Isn't it here now? The landscape painting. It's so close yet worlds apart. Take the landscape painting into the starry sky in your heart. It's made up of sequence particles, so disperse it and fill the starry sky in your heart with sequence particles. Your starry sky's laws will not be able to approach you. In other words, all the laws are in you and no one else's laws can approach you. Whatever laws you have in your starry sky is your law. There are as many laws as there are laws and they will only increase. Chapter 33:20. Pausing for a moment, Wu Tian continued. When I was teaching the masses, I saw too many cultivation methods and thought about too many cultivation methods. When I was imprisoned in the third calamity region, what I thought about the most was the origin of this universe. Where did the mother tree, the laws, and the various things that nurtured humans come from? It wasn't until I saw you break through to progenitor realm that I understood. Wu Tian was excited. This universe might have been born naturally, and we humans were nurtured by the various coincidences of the universe. However, the universe itself is a circle. It can give birth to us and we can create it in turn. Lu Yin's heart trembled. The universe was a circle? Bai Xianer had said this before, but her understanding of the universe was a circle was different from Wu Tian's. However, the results were the same. Everyone's understanding of the universe was different, but the results were the same? Wu Tian patted Lu Yin's shoulder. The 3 realms and 6 Daoists, including Master and Mr. Mu, can't help you much. You have to walk your own path. The only thing we can give you is the experience we've accumulated over time. Perhaps it will give you some inspiration. Yuzi, work hard. With that he left, leaving Lu Yin alone. Lu Yin looked at the landscape painting for a long time before releasing the starry sky in his heart and enveloping the painting. The moment the painting entered Lu Yin's heart, it shook violently. Within it, the mountains and rivers began to dissolve, turning into sequence particles that flowed towards the outside. They were rejected by the starry sky in Lu Yin's heart. Lu Yin's eyes widened as the wordless heavenly book shone with a golden light that enveloped the landscape painting. The disintegrating sequence particles were no longer rejected and they softened. Lu Yin saw the sequence particles. In the past, the celestial eye had been destroyed by the one true God, so Lu Yin couldn't see the sequence particles. However, after breaking through to progenitor realm, his strength had increased and he could gradually see them. This was especially true for the sequence foundation. The surging sequence particles were too exaggerated, and only Grand Empyreans could compare to them. Lu Yin instantly appeared beside the landscape painting. Around him, the sequence particles spread out like an invisible current that floated in the starry sky. When Lu Yin touched the sequence particles, he felt as if he could control them. He felt that at the moment the sequence particle was controlled, the space in front of him could be very long or very short. He could instantly travel a great distance or he could stand there and make others appear far away. This was what it meant to be so close yet so far. Lu Yin laughed heartily as he saw the path that he should take on the path of the array laws. He could not see what kind of array law he would be able to comprehend, but he knew that he would be able to obtain many array laws. Just as Wu Tian had said, Lu Yin's region of space seemed to have everything, but it also lacked nothing. The number of sequence rules that others could control was too few. Once they came into contact with him, they would be repelled by the starry sky in his heart. Only the sequence rules contained within the sequence foundation could be used by him. He did not use the mountain and river map directly. Instead, he dissolved the entire mountain and river map into majestic sequence particles and directly controlled these sequence particles. This was the path he would take. Snatch, clearly snatch, then control. This was the tyranny of the starry sky in the heart. If he couldn't get it, he would reject it. If he did, he would use it for himself. Lu Yin loved this kind of power as it was a power that had been born when he created his own universe. He was like a child who had been given a toy, and he continuously experimented with the sequence particles without feeling unfamiliar. It was as if he had directly jumped from the progenitor realm to the sequence foundation. Once the mountain and river map was completely dissolved into sequence particles, Lu Yin could only imagine how majestic the sequence particles that he would control would be. Unfortunately, the sequence foundation of so close, yet so far was not very useful, and it was almost useless to him. But it did not matter. He had found a direction and a path, and that was enough. For a moment, Lu Yin suddenly looked forward to the spiritualized universe. War was inevitable, and besides fighting for his own universe, he had another reason to fight: the sequence foundation. The mountain and river map sequence particles could be controlled, and the rest of the sequence foundation's sequence particles could be controlled as well. If he could snatch all of the sequence foundations and absorb all of the sequence particles into the starry sky in his heart, what would happen? Lu Yin's eyes burned with passion. The sequence foundations. He needed a lot of them to satisfy the hunger of the starry sky in his heart. 2 months later, under the starry sky, the Forgotten Ruins god brought Wang Xiaoyu and Yan Gang to meet the one true god. Blacklist God and Tengu stood quietly in the distance. The one true god listened to the Forgotten Ruins god's report. Primordial origin has lost a bell, and it's only a matter of time before Lu Yin kills him. But you actually killed Zhang Yan? The one true god looked at the Forgotten Ruins god with a calm gaze. The Forgotten Ruins god said respectfully, Primordial City was defeated in the battle. I feel that there's no point in cooperating with the spiritualized universe. In the future, when the spiritualized universe and this universe go to war, what we need is a means to protect ourselves. The one true god said indifferently, so you want to snatch the mountain and river map as a bargaining chip in the negotiation with the spiritualized universe? Yes. Unfortunately, it was snatched away by Xianxia. At the mention of this, the Forgotten Ruins god's expression turned ugly. Xianxia is too difficult to deal with. He even learned Wu Xing's ability to skip time. If not for that, I would definitely have been able to kill him. The one true god laughed. You can't kill him. The Forgotten Ruins god was confused. The one true god looked into the distance. Although Xianxia doesn't have that kind of undying defense, his will and fighting talent far surpass everyone else's, ensuring that he can turn the tables in adversity. Back then, in order to kill his 8 clones, the 7 heavenly gods mobilized almost all of them. Even so, they couldn't kill his clone. He even hid in the burial garden and created a chain palm, recultivating the sequence rules. Such a person will become very terrifying if given some more time. The Forgotten Ruins god said, Xianxia can find me. The one true god said, I can't do anything yet. At this point he looked at Yan Gang. Yan Gang trembled. The conversation between the Forgotten Ruins god and the one true god was not hidden from him. He had heard it and knew who this person was. It was the ruler of the Eternals, the one true god who was invincible in the universe. He had never dreamed that one day he would be able to meet the one true god. Although the one true god was humanity's greatest enemy, it did not stop him from fearing the one true god. It could be said that no matter how much humanity hated the one true god, most people were afraid of him. This existence was like the ruler of the universe. Cultivate your hive well. It will be of great use in the future. Yan Gang did not know how to reply. He could only bow and nod. In the beginning space on an ordinary planet on the 5th continent, the sound of reading woke up the peaceful morning. A man wearing glasses flipped open the pages of a book. As he listened to the sound of reading in the classroom not far away, he smiled. It was the beginning of a new day. These children were probably looking forward to tomorrow's weekend. It was the same when he was in school. Flipping through the book, the man quickly found the content he wanted to record. At this moment he realized that the words on the page were distorted. He frowned and looked again. There was nothing. He had slept too late last night and was mentally tired. He recorded again. The words suddenly distorted again. The man stared at the words. He took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. Strange, there was still nothing. What was going on? Suddenly, the words rose from the paper and formed a ferocious mouthpart. It swallowed the man in one gulp. With a snap, the glasses fell to the ground and shattered. Someone walked in from outside. Teacher Pang? Where was he? The person looked around and only found the glasses. There was nothing else. A breeze blew past and flipped open the book. The words continued to distort as if something was crawling between them. In the outside world, the sound of reading was still crisp and the peaceful morning air was fresh. Pieces of paper fell from the book onto the chair, the ground, and the broken glasses. If the pieces were combined, they would form a picture of the man. Not long after, the same thing happened on a distant planet. This time, more than one person saw it, as the person who had been swallowed and then turned into a picture was giving a speech. This scene caused panic on that planet. However, that planet had not left the heavens and did not know anything about cultivation or the above heaven sect. Thus, no news could be transmitted. One scene after another appeared in the universe, strange and terrifying. In the Innerverse erudite flow zone, when Qianer sat under a tree in a courtyard of the Wen family. Stupid Xiaoli, come out and make me wait for so long. Just you wait, I'll teach you a lesson later. After another hour, when Qianer gritted her teeth and suddenly stood up. You're courting death. She rushed into the courtyard and kicked open the door. Stupid Xiaoli, how much longer do you want me to wait? Get out here. The people around her heard her and shook their heads. Xiaoli was out of luck again. Her mother had sent her here to be trained by Wen Qianer. Wasn't that just courting death? Wen Qianer rushed into the courtyard and kicked open another door. You're still not coming out? Are you trying to slack off? See how I'll deal with you. There was no one in sight, and Wen Qianer was puzzled. Where was he? She stepped into the room and seemed to have stepped on something. She looked down and saw a picture. He picked up the picture. It had been shattered, but it was not difficult for a cultivator to piece it back together. The picture was of a cute girl with small canine teeth and a mischievous look. It was Xiaoli. Wen Qianer looked at the picture in confusion. What the hell? Suddenly, Wen Qianer felt a chill run down her spine as an indescribable terror descended upon her. She felt as if she was about to be swallowed by something. She looked up and saw a ferocious mouth appear and bite down on her. Bang! There was a loud sound as the ferocious mouth was pushed aside. A figure appeared beside Wen Qianer with a grave expression. Literary prison. Words sealed the room, causing the void to tremble and the surroundings to shatter. This attracted the attention of the entire Wen family. At the entrance of the Wen family, Patriarch Wen Zizai's expression changed and he hurried in. Wen Qianer was curled up on the ground and trembling as she clutched Xiaoli's picture tightly. Qianer, what's going on? Wen Zizai arrived. Wen Xianxia was standing beside Wen Qianer. He slowly turned his head and looked at Wen Zizai. Patriarch, the brocade Azura has appeared. Chapter 33:21. In the main hall above, Lu Yin's expression was solemn. In front of him was the Wen family's patriarch, Wen Zizai, Wen Xianxia and Wen Qian. Placed in front of Lu Yin was a tattered photo of an adorable little girl. When did this happen? Lu Yin asked. Wen Qianer was terrified and her face paled. I don't know. I was supposed to teach Xiaoli the literary prison this morning, but she didn't come for a long time. Last night was the last time we met. Lu Yin looked at Wen Xianxia. Wen Xianxia said, I heard Qianer kicking the door and I was afraid that she would be too harsh on Xiaoli, so I went over. As soon as I arrived, I saw a jade centipede biting at Qianer. I quickly pushed it aside and used the barrier to block it once. After that, the patriarch arrived and the Wen family was alerted. That jade centipede never appeared again. Lu Yin looked at Wen Zizai. Wen Zizai respectfully said, the Wen family is on guard. Everyone is gathered together and away from all surfaces, including walls and the ground. Lu Yin's eyes narrowed as he pondered. At this time, the second Night King reported that the same thing had happened not only in the Wen family, but also in various locations in the Genesis space. It was clear that there was more than one brocade Azura, and many of them were scattered throughout the Genesis space. The worst had happened. Lu Yin sent someone to invite Grand Elder Dangu. Grand Elder Dangu quickly arrived. The brocade Azura has appeared? It's too late. Lu Yin was helpless. There's nothing we can do about it. There are always people hiding in hives, thinking that they can reach the heavens in a single step. If it hadn't appeared in the Wen family, we wouldn't have known that it had appeared. Right, the brocade Azura is a half-ancestor. Why is it afraid of the Wen family? Wen Zizai and the rest did not understand. Previously, the heavenly sect had issued an announcement, and all the major powers knew the names of the 8 types of insects in the hive. They also knew that the brocade Azura was a half-ancestor. When the brocade Azura had appeared, the Wen family had already fallen into despair. However, after waiting for a while, the brocade Azura had not attacked, which was very strange. Grand Elder Dangu said, it's simple. This is the brocade Azura's habit. It doesn't fight head-on and only sneak attacks. Once someone discovers it, even if that person is an ordinary person, the Brocade Azura might not attack. The Brocade Azura was created not for battle, but for the sake of destroying the legacy of a civilization. Now that the Brocade Azura has appeared, how do we deal with it? Grand Elder Shangu had a headache. This is very hard to solve. Back then, our space civilization almost destroyed all of the books and books. The Brocade Azura likes to wander between the books and books. As for the walls and the ground, it will only wander occasionally, just like how we humans can swim, but we cannot swim forever. For the Brocade Azura, the books and books are like the land, it can live forever, but the walls and the ground are like rivers, it can only swim occasionally, but it cannot stay there forever. Luin understood. Although humans have a lot of textbooks around them, they don't keep them close to their bodies. That's why the Brocade Shura only likes to ambush and not fight head-on. Great Elder Shangu nodded. It's just like how ordinary people don't like to fight in the water. They aren't good at it no matter how powerful they are. This is their nature. You mean to say that we have to destroy all the books and inheritances in order to avoid being ambushed by the Brocade Azura? That was our plan at that time, Xianxia. This chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Actually, law is not a threat to experts, but it is a great threat to those below the half-martial ancestor level. This is the reason why it was created. Also, Daolord, since the Brocade Azura has appeared, Luin looked up. Frisia and Ghost Orchid have already been born. These words caused the main hall to fall silent. These were rather troublesome insects, and they were especially difficult to locate. Luin tapped his finger on the table. Pass down my orders. Everyone should stay away from books for now. Have everyone in the primordial space stay away from books and other inheritances. Following the heavenly sect's orders, all civilizations that were in contact with outer space were ordered to stay away from books and other items. As for those civilizations that were not in contact with outer space, the heavenly sect did their best to interfere. These civilizations did not have much power and did not even know about the cultivation world, so it was not difficult to keep those planets away from books. To the humans, the appearance of the Brocade Azura was a disaster. If they did not deal with the Brocade Azura, not only would their civilization not be able to advance, but it would also regress. The regression of civilization was terrifying. If they could not ambush humans through books and other items, it was difficult to guarantee that the Brocade Azura would not evolve and use other methods to ambush them. After all, it was an insect. Luin had not forgotten that Great Elder Shangu had said that the 9 types of insects were just the basics. Once Xianxia was born, the rest of the insects would fuse and evolve, giving birth to even stranger insects. The most important task at hand was to find the nest that had given birth to the Brocade Azura. The heavenly sect controlled outer space, and a single order from them could unleash boundless power. Luin ordered the search for the first Brocade Azura that had appeared, and countless people in the primordial space began to move. At the same time, the other parallel universes were sealed off. Luin did not want the Brocade Azura to spread throughout the universe. However, after searching for several days, they found nothing. The first Brocade Azura that had appeared was on a planet with an explorer. This was not a good result, as it was impossible to count the planets that had not been in contact with outer space. It was very likely that the person who had hidden the nest was hiding on such a planet. Great Elder Shangu suddenly found Luin. Logically speaking, while it is easy to nurture a nest, it takes time. How could a Brocade Azura appear so quickly? Even Yu Leng, who was the first to discover the nest, should not have been able to nurture one by now. The timing is wrong. Luin had a flash of inspiration. The 5 spirit tribes. Nurturing a Brocade Azura took a long time, and there was only one way to make up for that time, which was to have a different flow of time. The heavenly sect forbade anyone from entering spacetime with a different flow of time. Recently, only the 5 spirit tribes had taken in many people because they wanted to research energy sources, microarrays, and mechas. If one of them had already obtained a nest, then it would have been possible to nurture one by now. The spacetime of the 5 spirit tribes was connected to the primordial space, so the Brocade Azura could come here. Luin respected the researchers and did not investigate too much. Luin did not openly search the 5 spirit tribes. Instead, he secretly entered and tore open a void to see if Frisia, Ghost Orchid, and the others were hidden there. He did not find anything, so he went to find Zhidong, Biaozi, and the others. They specialized in researching how to support microarrays such as universal armor and so on. Many of the people in this department were ordinary cultivators, and it was very likely that they were hiding a nest. Lu Yin had Zhidong meet everyone in this department one by one while Lu Yin kept an eye on them. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. Capture them. It took a few days for Lu Yin to meet everyone and capture a few suspicious ones. However, they had nothing to do with the nest. These people were secretly hiding resources and wanted to sell them after leaving the 5 spirit tribes. Lu Yin was not interested in such matters, so he left them to Zhidong. Next was the energy source manufacturing department, and the person in charge was Zijing. On the 3rd day, Lu Yin found the person named Song Xiaoxue. My name is Song Xiaoxue and I'm from Transcendent Space. I've lived with my brother since I was young and my days were uneventful. One day my brother was valued by the energy research team and joined them, bringing me along with him. Every day in the energy research team was uneventful, but I was already very satisfied. Although the team leader was strict with us, we received a lot and had high statuses. In Transcendent Space, even the nobles did not dare to provoke us. I liked those days. Although they were boring, they were satisfying. Then one day my brother mysteriously told me that he wanted to replace the team leader and step into a higher position in Transcendent Space. I was terrified at the time, not knowing what he wanted to do. However, I knew that my brother could not do anything to the team leader. I tried to stop him, but he wouldn't listen. He was so infatuated that I didn't know what he was thinking. He kept saying that he wanted to reach the heavens in a single step and not live such a boring life anymore. I couldn't stop him and I could only hope that he would succeed. Many things happened in Transcendent Space. Zijing betrayed us once, but she returned and was still valued by the team leader. As for me, I saw my brother less and less until one day I received bad news that he was dead. I clearly remembered that day when I received the news of my brother's death. Team leader was very cold. She looked at me with a cold gaze, just like the news of my brother's death. I couldn't accept this bad news. My brother was my only family in this universe. Other than my brother, I had no friends, no friendship, and no love. These were all too distant for me. I only had my brother. Why did my brother die? I searched for news like crazy and finally found it. It was the people from Drifting Cloud Space who went to save Drifting Cloud and caused my brother's death. Drifting Cloud Space, I wanted to destroy Drifting Cloud Space. I wanted to avenge my brother, but I couldn't do it. Later, I heard that the reason why the people from Drifting Cloud Space could find my brother's research base and enter the super analysis mode to save Drifting Cloud was related to the Yu family. I still couldn't do anything. I couldn't deal with Drifting Cloud Space, I couldn't deal with the Yu family, and I couldn't avenge my brother. I lived numbly day after day researching just like a part of a machine. Sooner or later it would rot and fall off. At that time I would be able to see my brother. I was brought from Transcendent Space to the Origin Space. My days were the same. Whether it was Transcendent Space or the Origin Space, it didn't mean anything to me. No matter what happened in the outside world, no matter how Master Lu shocked the universe, it had nothing to do with me. I just wanted my brother to live in memories every day. Until one day I saw a jade-colored ball. I didn't know when it fell to the ground, and directly opposite the jade-colored ball was my brother's portrait. Was it a gift from my brother? What a beautiful gift. I was infatuated with this gift and kept it with me. Later, I followed the energy research team to the 5 spirit race. It was a space-time where the flow of time was different. It allowed us to create a large number of energy sources in the shortest time possible. I heard that the heavenly sect needed 100 black energy sources. How was that possible? How could there be so many materials? But these had nothing to do with me. I just wanted to immerse myself in memories, look at this gift, and miss my brother. End of chapter. Chapter 33-22. I don't know how much time has passed. It might seem like a short time in the outside world, but several years have passed in the 5 spirit clans. The people around me are talking about the nest. I'm not interested, but gradually I realize that the nest they're talking about is similar to the jade ball I got. Is that a nest? I listened calmly and soon determined that what I had was the insect nest. Above Heaven's Sect's Master Lu had ordered the entire universe to destroy the insect nest. Handing over the insect nest would give me a huge reward, but I wasn't interested in the reward. I wanted revenge. Floating Cloud Universe, you family, would Master Lu help me take revenge? Impossible, those people are all his subordinates and he will only help them. I want revenge on my own. The nest can give birth to insects and it's very powerful. Even Master Lu is afraid of it, but I can't be careless. I can't rush, I have to take it slow. Too many insects will be discovered, so I have to take it one step at a time. Looking at the familiar picture in front of him, Lu Yin didn't expect it to be like this. He's your brother? Behind him was Zijing and Song Xiaoxue. Lu Yin had taken control of her and the nest as soon as he found out that Song Xiaoxue was hiding the nest. He asked her why she was hiding it and giving birth to insects. Her answer was within Lu Yin's expectations, but it also surprised him. It was normal for her to want revenge, but her enemies were the drifting cloud universe and the Yu family. This surprised Lu Yin. How could the drifting cloud universe and the Yu family have a common enemy? The first person he thought of was the Dimensional Master, the Chrono Overlord. The Yu family's enemy was the Dimensional Master, and the drifting cloud universe's enemy was the Dimensional Master. However, Song Xiaoxue had brought them here and shown them the picture. Xiaohai, the Energy Research Division's Xiaohai, was actually Song Xiaoxue's brother. He was a spy in the Energy Research Division who wanted to use the Eternals to exchange for a body and control the Energy Research Division, but he had died in the base where Lu Yin had forced him to find a black energy source. Lu Yin didn't expect that this person who had long been forgotten in the corner of his memory would appear again. You know my brother? Song Xiaoxue was puzzled. Lu Yin looked at Song Xiaohai. This person had betrayed him and the entire human race, so he deserved to die. However, his death had given Lu Yin a new heart for vengeance. That heart had long since fallen silent, but it had been rekindled because of the insectoid nest. The threat brought by the hive was not only the destruction of intelligent civilizations and the destruction of legacies. The initial threat was to incite hatred, allowing those who were unable to take revenge to gain power. Yes, this was the true reason why the hive could be nurtured. If there was no hatred or greed in this universe, the hive would have been destroyed long ago. Why would Song Xiaoxue need to hide? Wouldn't it be better to exchange for rewards? However, this was an intelligent civilization. This was the civilization of mankind. Greed, hatred, and unwavering lust. Although human beings had noble virtues, fearless spirits, and complicated emotions, they could not hide their bad habits. The insectoid hive was specifically designed to destroy civilizations. As long as the insectoid hive could develop, the civilization would have value and meaning in being destroyed. This was the hive civilization. You're the one who killed my brother. It's you, isn't it? It's you. Song Xiaoxue suddenly realized that the Yu family and drifting cloud spacetime were all backed by this person. It was Lu Yin. He was the one who had killed her brother. Otherwise, how could someone like him know her brother? Her brother was just a small member of the energy research team, so how could he know someone like this? This person was the one who had rescued her brother. Lu Yin turned around and looked at Song Xiaoxue. The girl's eyes were filled with hatred as if she wanted to eat him alive. She had an ordinary appearance and should have led an ordinary life. However, hatred and a hive had completely changed her ordinary life. Your brother was a spy for the everlasting race. Lu Yin did not deny it. Song Xiaoxue exploded and screamed, It's you. It's you. You killed my brother. Give him back, give him back. Your brother was a spy, he deserved to die. Zijing grabbed her and shouted. Song Xiaoxue screamed, I don't care. He was my brother, my only family. You killed him. Give him back his life. Zijing looked at Lu Yin. Pathmaster Xiaoxue and I have known each other for many years. She was introverted and cared about her brother the most. This hatred cannot be resolved. Song Xiaoxue screamed, her eyes filled with hatred as she stared at Lu Yin. Lu Yin looked at her. I didn't kill your brother. Song Xiaoxue was stunned and stared at Lu Yin, her eyes filled with hatred. You didn't kill him? He died in the laboratory of that old man, the leader of your energy research team. Even though I wasn't the one who killed him, he died because of me. I don't regret his death at all. A spy deserved to die, Lu Yin said calmly. Song Xiaoxue's eyes were filled with hatred as she screamed, full of unwillingness. She did not know that her enemy was Lu Yin. She hated the Yu family and drifting cloud spacetime for so many years, but she did not know and had been working for this person all this time. But then she collapsed to the ground. So what if she knew? It was just that this enemy was too big, so big that it was unimaginable. Even with the hive, she could not take revenge. She sat on the ground with a dull expression and muttered something to herself. Lu Yin looked at the hive in his hand. You didn't give birth to Frisia and Ghost Orchid? It has been 3 years and 7 months since you came to the 5 spirit races, not counting the first 3 years. At that time the hive had not been discovered. It was only 3 years after you came to the 5 spirit races, when you Lung massacred the 6 direction training halls, that the hive was completely discovered. You should not have given birth then, or else this place would have reported it. That is to say, this place only got the news after the hive spread. You only started giving birth to the hive after 7 months at most, which is less than 60 years in the 5 spirit races' time. If you focused on giving birth to the hive, you could have given birth to Brocade Azura in less than 10 years. The person outside gave birth to Frisia around the same time, but you took almost 60 years. You were afraid of being discovered, so you gave birth to Frisia and Ghost Orchid without letting them appear. Why did you send out Brocade Azura? Song Xiaoxu slowly looked up and smiled vengefully. Do you think I will answer? Lu Yin looked at her. With your cautiousness, you should not have exposed yourself before taking revenge. Either you cannot control Brocade Azura, or you are not the only one who can control Brocade Azura. At this point he squatted down and looked into Song Xiaoshua's eyes. You gave birth to Xianxia, right? Ah. Song Xiaoxua laughed loudly and carefreely. Her laughter caused Lu Yin's heart to sink. Master Lu, you are so smart. Right, I will tell you. That's right, Xian came out. Song Xiaoxua laughed. It was Xian who controlled Brocade Azura to scout for her. She wanted to know the Genesis space and I could not stop her. Where's Xian? Lu Yin shouted. Ha, I never thought that I would see the high and mighty Master Lu lose his composure one day. Brother, did you see that? Brother, ha. Song Xiaoxua laughed maniacally. She had suppressed her laughter for so many years and now it was completely released. Her laughter was like revenge, and the more she saw Lu Yin lose his composure, the happier she became. Gradually, the smile on her face faded and the light in her eyes dimmed. Finally, she collapsed and died. After Song Xiaoxua died, Lu Yin stood up. His previous loss of composure had been an act. This woman had hidden the hive and given birth to Brocade Azura, which had caused many deaths. She deserved to die, but she was also very pitiful. Lu Yin could not let her go just because she was pitiful, but he was willing to fulfill her wishes as long as it was within his power. She must have been truly happy at the moment of her death. Zijing looked at Song Xiaoshua's corpse and could not bear it. Her ambition had been provoked by he ran, but she was not a cultivator. Master, Song Xiaoxua is dead. What about Brocade Azura? Lu Yin asked. Am I being too soft-hearted? Zijing was stunned and looked at Lu Yin with a complicated expression. Soft-hearted? Really? She thought back to Lu Yin's life. This was not Lu Yin's right alone but everyone's right. Lu Yin's life was known by everyone, and he had become a legend. Ever since Lu Yin had stepped into the cultivation world, blood and slaughter had never ceased. Earth, the outerverse, the innerverse, the cosmic sea, the neoverse, the astral tree, the sixth mainland, the hexagon gang, and so on. How many people had he killed or indirectly killed? Those people had died at his hands for various reasons, but did all of them really deserve to die? Who in the cultivation world would consider such a question? The law of the jungle explained everything. However, as a human being, how could he not think about it? This was the bottom line of being human. In the past, Lu Yin would not have fulfilled Song Xiaoshua's dream of revenge. Her death was not within his consideration, and he would have thought of ways to use her to deal with Brocade Azura. But now, Lu Yin had watched her commit suicide and laugh heartily before her death. This ending was undoubtedly the best for Song Xiaoxua, but it was not good for Lu Yin and the primordial space, which was currently suffering from the Brocade Azura's calamity. If revenge breeds revenge, when will it ever end? Hatred was the main theme that would never fade, and Lu Yin had only considered this theme when he had become the ruler of the humans. What right did a person who did not have to worry about being avenged and who had brought about endless hatred have to guide others to do good? Lu Yin looked at Song Xiaohai's picture. The hatred that he had brought about had ended with Song Xiaoshua's death, but what about the others? Zijing did not disturb Lu Yin and quietly stood behind him. There were some questions that only someone in Lu Yin's position could consider. After a while, Lu Yin ordered all the progenitors to gather in the primordial space and search for the Brocade Azura. This method was no different from waiting for a rabbit to appear, but there was no other way. Creatures like the Brocade Azura that wandered the plain were very difficult to find. They had allowed Song Xiaoxua to die because the Brocade Azura did not listen to her. Otherwise they would not have left the 5 spirit clans and would only listen to Xian. Finding Xianxia was the most important thing. However, Xianxia herself could not possibly know where Xianxia was. A bug nest was just a breeding ground for insects, but that did not mean that the insects would definitely return to the nest that had given birth to them. They would look for a nearby bug nest. This was what Elder Shangu had told Lu Yin. Chapter 33-23. Lu Yin looked at Song Xiaohai's picture again and admitted that he had indeed brought about hatred. He did not have the right to guide others to do good, but besides a bottom line there was also a sense of self. This bottom line had been given to Lu Yin by this universal civilization, and it was the crystallization of their culture and inheritance. It could not be changed by Lu Yin's will, but as an intelligent being he had a selfish side. He would live for himself, for the people he cared about, and for the people he wanted to protect. Everything that broke this sense of self should be eliminated, and he did not regret the hatred he had brought about. He did not have the right to guide others to do good, but he had the right to use this as an excuse to protect all of humanity and the continuation of this intelligent race. He was Lu Yin, the current ruler of humanity. Countless people worshipped and followed him, and he was willing to protect those who followed him. Whether it was the abyss or purgatory, they would walk together. As for Song Xiaoxue, not only was he soft-hearted, but he was also tolerant of her. Following Lu Yin's orders, progenitors entered the primordial space one by one and used their ancestral worlds to monitor the entire space. The focus was on the area where the Brocade Azura had been discovered. A progenitor's ancestral world could cover a considerable area. The symbol progenitor's remaining power had been able to change the world and prevent the invading sixth mainland from using Envoy's power. Now, there were so many powerhouses in the primordial space, especially the 3 realms and 6 Daos. Lu Yin was confident that he could monitor the surrounding parallel spacetime, let alone the primordial space. Although it would take a lot of time and effort, he could deal with the Brocade Azura as long as it dared to appear. The reason why Elder Shangu's region had not been able to deal with the Brocade Azura was because the Brocade Azura had already spread throughout the universe, and they did not have that many powerhouses to monitor the entire universe. Fortunately, Lu Yin had ordered all parallel spacetime to be sealed the moment he discovered the Brocade Azura, trapping it in the primordial space. Otherwise, it would have been difficult for him to deal with it. Not long after, another Brocade Azura was discovered by Su Wangtian. The moment he discovered the Brocade Azura, he smacked it to death with his slippers. The Brocade Azura roamed the plains and was difficult to find and deal with, but it was still only a half-progenitor and could not stop Su Wangtian. More Brocade Azuras were discovered, and of course the number of victims increased. It was like a game of tag. The Brocade Azura was just a bug without much intelligence. It couldn't guess the plans of the humans. It only wanted to wander the surface and kill 1 or 2 people from time to time. But as soon as it appeared, it would be discovered and killed. Of course, there were also examples of failure. The young Dust Mad Dean had discovered the appearance of the Brocade Azura but failed to kill it, allowing it to escape. There was no other way. The young Dust Mad Dean was good at fighting against intelligent creatures. How could the Brocade Azura have any? Not every Ancestor Realm expert had a way to travel on a flat surface. Outside the sect in the sky, the prison flood dragon grinned and used its claws to scratch the strength beast's back. The strength beast's back was itchy. Not far away, Su Wang leisurely swung his tail. On the other side was the ancestral turtle that had completely retracted its head into its shell. Countless people stared with their mouths agape. These colossi had now become scenery, attracting the attention of countless people. In the heavenly sect, Tuo Lin's courtyard was still filled with books, and he was immersed in reading. Huikan wailed, "Senior brother, why are you still not leaving? How much longer are you going to read?" Tuo Lin raised his head and said meaningfully, "Junior brother, you have to be steady and do things properly. Master did not ask us to leave, which means that it is not our turn yet. There is no rush, take your time. Senior brother has prepared some books for you to read." Huikan was speechless. "Senior brother, you are thinking too much. Master has simply forgotten about us." He had become Lu Yin's disciple and had leaped to the peak of this universe. His desire to go out and show off had been forcefully ground away in this courtyard. He had lost count of how many books he had read. Master had clearly tricked his senior brother. Now that his senior brother could cultivate, why was he still not leaving? It was fine if he did not go out, but Master had ordered him to accompany him. This was the most depressing thing. What does it have to do with me if he does not go out? I want to go out and be at ease, go out and show off, go out and enjoy the compliments of countless people. Did Master forget that his senior brother could cultivate? He had to remind him. When he thought of this, he quietly slipped out of the courtyard. After Hui Qin left, Tuo Lin shook his head. This junior brother is too impatient. Master must have a reason for not letting us go out. Sigh, what? You're saying that your junior brother is unable to take on great responsibilities? No, Master would never misjudge someone. It's just that we haven't seen your strengths yet. Thank you for the compliment, but I'm not that good either. The ancients said that books have their own beauty, and they are indeed correct. I've always felt that books have souls, so I often talk to books. Junior brother even said that I've become stupid from reading too much. Look, they really do have souls. You're here. Who are the ancients? They're people from the past and should have died long ago. They seem to be from that planet called Earth. Yen Ryu? What does that mean? Let me think. It means that your face is as beautiful as jade. That's easy to understand. You've seen a lot of jade? Well, then it's even more similar. I'll call you Yen Ryu. Do you like this name? I like it too. Master will definitely like it too. I respect Master a lot. It was Master who allowed me to read and understand things so that I could meet you. Alright, it's a promise. I'll bring you to meet Master one day. Master will definitely like you too. You like Master too, You like him now? Like everything I like? Thank you. You're so nice, Yen Ryu. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. During this half a year, Lu Yin and the others had stayed in the origin space to monitor. They had discovered a total of 23 brocade Azuras and killed them all. The last brocade Azura had been killed half a month ago, and no more brocade Azuras had appeared after that. Lu Yin was still worried and had the others continue monitoring while he returned to the Above Heaven sect to check on the production of various resources. As soon as he returned, he saw Hui Qin bowed. Master. Lu Yin grunted. Why aren't you with Tuo Lin? Why are you looking for me? Hui Qin hesitated for a moment. Master, senior brother can already cultivate. I know, Lu Yin said indifferently. It was Xing who had given Tuo Lin the possibility to cultivate and had helped him heal his meridians. Hui Qin coughed. Then can this disciple go out now? Lu Yin looked at him. Up to you. Hui Qin was unsure of Lu Yin's attitude. Senior brother doesn't plan to go out. He said that he's waiting for you. Lu Yin looked at the courtyard in the distance and saw Tuo Lin buried in a book. Who is he talking to? He scanned with his domain but couldn't find anyone. Has your senior been talking to himself a lot recently? Hui Qin was embarrassed. A little, but he's not talking to himself. It seems like he's talking to a book. Talking to a book? Lu Yin was stunned and couldn't understand. He suddenly thought of the brocade Azura. Could brocade Azura have come to the Above Heaven sect? He immediately rejected this idea. Impossible. If brocade Azura was in the Above Heaven sect, then Lu Yin would have discovered him. Brocade Azura also couldn't speak. How long has he been in this state? A long time ago, senior brother liked to talk to himself in front of books. It's like he's become stupid from reading too much. It's only gotten worse recently. A long time ago? Lu Yin nodded and said to Hui Qin, take your senior brother out for a walk. It's not good to always stay in the Above Heaven sect. Hui Qin was delighted. Thank you, Master. Take these with you for self-defense. Lu Yin gave some things to Hui Qin and some to Tuo Lin, including the Splitting Heaven Array, the Ho Bird Skeleton, the Yin God All, and the Bone Spur. These were defensive items that he had long since stopped using. In the current universe, there shouldn't be too much danger. Tuo Lin had the power to sacrifice his Saint Meridians, and to a certain extent, even ordinary progenitors couldn't do anything to him. Hui Qin was extremely intelligent and had cultivated the Sky Palace. Although he was far from mature, he should have no problem dealing with ordinary cultivators. If someone wanted to deal with them and could succeed, then that person would definitely be an expert. Lu Yin couldn't keep them trapped in the Above Heaven sect forever. Hui Qin was excited. If Lu Yin made a move, then it would definitely be extraordinary. He ran off in high spirits. Not long after, Hui Qin found Tuo Lin and told him what Lu Yin had said. Tuo Lin's eyes lit up. Can we go out now? I want to bid farewell to Master. Hui Qin hurriedly said, no need. Master has been watching us. There's no need to go out of your way. Oh, Tuo Lin acknowledged and looked around. After confirming Lu Yin's location, he bowed a few times and mumbled something incomprehensible. He then earnestly picked out a few books and stored them in his cosmic ring before leaving the above-the-sky sect with Hui Can. After watching them leave, Lu Yin left the above-heaven sect and went to the 5 spirit tribes. In a certain parallel universe, under the starry night sky, Yan Gang stared at the hive and nervously swallowed his saliva. Not far away, the one true god, the Forgotten Ruins god, and the others were there. There was also Tiango, who was quietly squatting by the one true god's feet and watching curiously. Many brocade azuras have been dealt with in the Genesis space. It's said that they were cultivated by the 5 spirit tribes, Wu Xian said. The Forgotten Ruins god laughed. Aside from the 5 spirit tribes, there are only the technical talents that Lu Yin threw in to create resources. Why? Is there someone hiding a hive? It's normal for humans to be selfish. This time it's for revenge, but it's a small matter. That person has been captured. He's quite cautious. The 5 spirit tribes sped up time 100 times, and it took them such a long time to cultivate the brocade azura. The other insects did not appear. No wonder he could hide for so long, the one true god said calmly. The Forgotten Ruins god said, unfortunately he was still captured. How could such a person cultivate the brocade azura into the Genesis space? Wu Xian frowned. The Everlasting tribe had been defeated and most of their spies had been captured. Even if there were some left, they would not expose themselves if they could. They would not wholeheartedly gather information for the Everlasting tribe, so the information he could obtain was limited. In the distance, Yan Gang was surrounded by blooming freesia and ghost orchids. There were also stone dragons, 7-star sword, and other insects waiting quietly. He was waiting for the brocade azura to appear. So far, aside from Zhou Xian, who had cultivated the brocade azura in the 5 spirit tribes, he was the fastest. When he met the one true god half a year ago, he had already tried to cultivate ghost orchids and succeeded. Now that half a year had passed, he was confident that he could cultivate the brocade azura. Chapter 33-24. The hive was a magical thing. There was no need to cultivate and it could produce insects naturally. Yan Gang himself did not know how to produce insects. It was more like the insects used him as a carrier to move around. However, he did not dare to tell the one true god this. All hives were like this. The reason why people mistook them as the masters of the hive was because the insects listened to them. However, they did not know why the insects listened to them. Everyone thought they controlled the hive. However, if these people gathered together to discuss, they would realize that their so-called control methods were different. The reproduction of insects was very fast. It broke the inherent thinking and cultivation system of humans. It took a very long time for a person to cultivate to the progenitor realm. However, insects could be produced in a short time. This was unfair to human civilization. It was also a disaster. However, this was the universe, a universe filled with endless unknowns. Ordinary people could destroy planets and even space with technology. However, that person was just an ordinary person. How long had he lived? Only a few decades. Behind the insects was the Divine Master. He was an omnipotent being. That was why he was able to produce strong insects in a short time. However, the Divine Master himself took a long time to become an omnipotent being. It was far beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Without the Divine Master's heaven-defying methods, there would not be insects. The Divine Master was equivalent to ordinary people's technology. He gave ordinary people the ability to move mountains and fill oceans. Ordinary people developed technology for a few decades to surpass the ancient civilization's development of thousands of years. This was a huge leap. In the cultivation world, if humans wanted to reach the progenitor realm and then produce offspring, they pursued the Divine Master's ability. They hoped that their offspring would be born with great talent and strength. The Divine Master had already reached that level. Humans had been walking in that direction. There were many other creatures in the universe that had already reached that level. As humans became stronger, they would come into contact with more and more incredible creatures. After waiting for a long time, a jade-colored centipede crawled out of a ball in the hive. Yan Gang was overjoyed. It's out. It's the brocade azura. In the distance, the one true god looked at the brocade azura. This was the brocade azura that could destroy the inheritance of an intelligent civilization? Could crawl on the surface. The brocade azura crawled on Yan Gang's body. It then crawled to the ground and gradually disappeared. The god of Forgotten Ruins threw out a book with interest. A breeze blew and the book opened. The words inside moved. Control it and eat me. The god of forgotten ruins walked to the book. Yen Gang stared blankly at the god of oblivion. His eyes flashed with infatuation as he hesitated. The god of forgotten ruins raised his eyebrows and looked at Yen Gang. He smiled and said, "Little guy, you are very interesting. Then control it and eat her." With that, the god of forgetfulness pointed at Wang Xiaoyu. Wang Xiaoyu's gaze was cold. Yen Gang looked at the book. Just as he was about to control the Brocade Azura, the one true god suddenly raised his head. "The troublesome fellow is here." Scope. Soon there was no one under the starry night sky. Ancestor Chen walked out of the void. His surroundings were empty. There was only a book on the ground that was being blown by the wind, flipping page after page. Looking at the book, Patriarch Chen walked over. Within the book, the text began to twist and distort. All of a sudden, the Brocade Azura appeared, its ferocious maw biting down on Patriarch Chen as if to swallow him whole. Ancestor Chen casually smashed the Brocade Azura into pieces, causing jade-colored fragments to scatter everywhere. He was astonished. This was the Brocade Azura? He had also heard about what had happened in the primordial space. In order to deal with the Brocade Azura, Lu Yin had gathered many progenitors from the human race. Now that a Brocade Azura had appeared here, it was obviously nurtured by the person Wang Miaomiao had taken away. This was going to be troublesome. Patriarch Chen's gaze turned cold as he picked up the book and left. Tracking Wang Miaomiao was no longer a matter for him alone, but for the entire human race. The person with the hive had to be eliminated. Far away, Black Wuxian said, "My lord, leaving the Brocade Azura to Xiaxia is equivalent to telling Lu Yin that we have nurtured the Brocade Azura. This will cause the entire human civilization to hunt us down." The Forgotten Ruins god smiled. "Isn't the entire human civilization hunting us down right now? Do you think Lu Yin will let us go?" Yen Gang was terrified. The entire human civilization was hunting them down. He had never thought of facing the entire human civilization. The pressure was too great. Black Wuxian looked at the Forgotten Ruins god. "Wang Miaomiao, what do you mean?" The Forgotten Ruins god did not understand. "What do you mean? You clearly killed Zhang Yan and stole the landscape map, but it was still taken away by Xiaxia. Don't you know that Xiaxia is tracking you? You purposely left the Brocade Azura behind just now. You must be informing Lu Yin," Black Wuxian said in a low voice. The Forgotten Ruins god laughed. "My lord, your subordinate is becoming more and more foolish." The lines in Black Wuxian's eyes turned. "What did you say?" The Forgotten Ruins god's smile disappeared and his entire being became extremely cold. "If I wanted to inform him, do you think you can still stay here safely? At this moment, there should be the 3 realms 6 paths and 3 suns 6 lords around." Black Wuxian's gaze was cold, but he did not refute. The one true god looked back at the sky. "What we left behind is not the Brocade Azura but panic." 5 spirit race Lu Yin came again. Half a year had passed since Song Xiaoshue's death, and the Brocade Azura in the origin space was almost finished. For the 5 spirit race 50 years had passed. In these 50 years, there were continuous breakthroughs in the creation of energy sources, microarray research, mecha material decomposition, and so on. After all, the entire human civilization was involved and the progress was fast. In the past, the Aurora Corporation had needed decades or even longer to create a spacecraft, but now the technocracy, limitless empire, and other civilizations had joined in, greatly increasing their research speed. The research of microarrays had gathered Gu Yan, Li Tianshi, Xiu Mingshi, and even the reincarnation spacetime origin array master. There were 7 origin array masters working together, and their speed was unimaginable. The 76 array combinations could be mass-produced, and the next step was to research the 108 array combinations. The mission that Lu Yin had given them at the beginning did not seem impossible. What they lacked now was resources. The entire universe and many parallel spacetime continuums kept sending them resources, but it was still not enough. Black energy sources, mechas with 10 rings, and weapons that could support the 108 array combinations all required extremely rare resources. The problem of resources was the key to the current situation. Lu Yin had no choice but to personally take action and continuously gather star essence. He began to use his dye to decompose various weapon materials, using 3 pips to upgrade resources. This was using the resources that humans had traded to upgrade hard resources, and the consequences would be disastrous. The entire human civilization would be thrown into turmoil, and the economic collapse would lead to the collapse of all parties. But there was no other way. This was the only way to survive this crisis. If possible, Lu Ying did not want to go all out, but he had to do it now. Time flowed 100 times faster for the 5 spirit races, and Lu Ying stayed here for about a year. The person who had been taken away by the Forgotten Ruins deity had already nurtured the Brocade Azura. This was truly bad news. The Forgotten Ruins deity had taken away the Brocade Azura, which meant that it belonged to the Everlasting Race. No one knew what the Everlasting Race would do, but they definitely would not be on the same side as the humans. Song Xiaoxua's Xian was still unknown, but another Xian was about to be born. Senior, this is no longer a personal grudge. The Forgotten Ruins deity needs to be resolved as soon as possible. Otherwise, if Xian appears, the situation will be difficult to predict. Ancestor Qin replied, I know. That's why I came back this time to get reinforcements. Wang Miao should have already met up with the one true god. Lu Ying was shocked. Are you sure? Ancestor Qin nodded. In the past, I had to get close to Wang Miao before she could sense me. At that time, I was confident that I could attack her, so I followed her alone. But this time I was discovered before I even got close. It must be the one true god, so I couldn't even attack. Master Lu, it was my rashness that led to this disaster. If I had asked the 3 realms and 6 paths to help last time, Wang Miao would not have been able to take the hive away. Lu Ying waved a hand. I feel that the Forgotten Ruins deity has targeted you. She has fought with you several times, so she might have been able to avoid you. Ancestor Qin frowned. What do you mean? She purposely fought with me? What's the reason? Wang Xiaoyu, Lu Ying said. Ancestor Chen's eyes flashed. He wants to use this to test if Xiaoyu has really betrayed the humans? Lu Ying said, if we can see that there's something wrong with Wang Xiaoyu's betrayal, how can the Forgotten Ruins deity not see it? In the past she did not care because there were many powerful Eternals, and there were many situations where Wang Xiaoyu was not needed. Thus, Wang Xiaoyu had always been one of the 12 Marquises on the back of the battlefield. She did not even break through to the progenitor realm. But now it's different. The Eternals have been defeated and there are only a few left. Wang Xiaoyu is very important. The Forgotten Ruins deity is an extremely sinister woman. She was found by you and tested several times to determine if there's anything wrong with Wang Xiaoyu. Now that she's confirmed, she went to find the one true god. Perhaps this is why the one true god and the others escaped with the bone boat, and the Forgotten Ruins deity took Wang Xiaoyu with her. Of course, I'm just guessing. Ancestor Qin said, it's not impossible. Wang Miao has lived since the era of the above heaven until now. It's difficult to see through her schemes. She's also very special among the Eternals. She also knows the true god's freedom technique, which has never been exposed before. Lu Ying was surprised. The Forgotten Ruins deity knows the true god's freedom technique? Ancestor Qin nodded. That's even more problematic. She's not that simple, Lu Ying said. No matter what, I still need to ask someone to follow me. Even if we can't catch them, we can't let them have it easy, Ancestor Qin said. Lu Ying thought so too. He couldn't let the one true god and the others do whatever they wanted. Another few decades passed in the 5 spirit clans, but it was only half a year in the outside world. The Brocade Azura didn't appear in the primordial space again. Of course, Xian, who was born from Song Xiaoxua, was also nowhere to be found. As for Ancestor Qin and the others, they couldn't find the Forgotten Ruins deity and the one true god. The person who was taken away by the Forgotten Ruins deity would definitely give birth to Xian. Unless they could get rid of the one true god and the others, the difficulty of which was no less than completely eradicating all the hives in the Tianyuan universe. So far, although Lu Ying and the others had confirmed that they had destroyed most of the hives, they couldn't be sure how many were left. They didn't know if Xian had been born among them, or if Xian had entered human civilization. Chapter 33-25. Elder Shangu told Lu Ying that the war between their universe and the hive had lasted for a very long time, just like the war between the Tianyuan universe and the Eternals. They had not been able to completely destroy the hive, but now the same thing was happening in the Tianyuan universe as well. Lu Ying did not have the confidence to completely destroy the hive. However, since Elder Shangu's civilization had defeated the hive and lured out that omnipotent existence, then the Tianyuan universe's civilization could do the same. Although it would be a long and drawn-out war, the biggest problem was that they did not know when the spiritualized universe would arrive. being surrounded and attacked by the spiritualized universe, and the hive was the Tianyuan universe's greatest danger. There was no other way. Lu Yin could only take this final step. 4 years had passed in the outside world, but not much had changed. In the cultivation world, 4 years was not even the blink of an eye. The higher one's cultivation, the more time seemed blurry. In the past, 4 years would have been enough for Lu Yin's cultivation to improve greatly, especially when he was still in the 5 spirit races. That was equivalent to 400 years, and he did not know how much he would have improved. But now there was no improvement. At his level, even the slightest improvement would take a ridiculous amount of time. Unless there was a shortcut. The only shortcut he could take right now was the foundation of the sequence. The Xianxia painting that had been suppressed in Lu Yin's heart had shrunk by more than half, and only a tiny bit remained. Boundless sequence particles had appeared in the region that he controlled, and they had surpassed most powerhouses with sequence laws. However, this was not enough, far from enough. He needed even more sequence particles, ones that covered the entire region. One day, when the region around his heart was filled with sequence particles, just like the immemorial battlefield, Lu Yin did not know how powerful he would be then. At that time, his biggest headache would be breaking through to the primordial realm. Lu Yin realized that he was constantly repeating a process. He was constantly challenging those in a lower realm, reaching the limits of his current realm or even surpassing them. The difficulty of breaking through was unimaginable. Breaking through to the explorer realm was like this, breaking through to the envoy realm was like this, breaking through to the half-ancestor realm was like this, and breaking through to the primordial realm was even more difficult. The more sequence laws one grasped, the harder it would be to break through to the primordial realm. Lu Yin did not know if he would have the courage to fill up the space around his heart if he really managed to snatch the 10 foundation of the spiritualized universe. That would be a challenge, an unprecedented challenge. 4 years in the outside world meant 400 years for the 5 spirit tribes. Nothing seemed to have changed, but the missions that Lu Yin had given them had all been completed. In fact, it could even be said that they had accomplished more than they had. All of humanity's resources had been gathered together, and the power that all of the professionals could unleash was unimaginable. First was the black energy source. He had already created 100 of them, and resources were still being sent over to him. He had also created 1,000,000 rules to search for sequence nomological fluctuations. Yiro had 12 progenitor corpses, which meant that he now had 12 more progenitor corpses. Fortunately, he was able to find those progenitor corpses who had done all sorts of evil in the parallel universes. In terms of microarrays, they had already developed 108 combinations that could be mass-produced. The universal armor was already being mass-produced, and they were constantly being manufactured to increase the destructive power of the progenitor realm in batches. On Limitless Empire's side, 50 10th ring mechas, 20 11th ring mechas and 12 12th ring mechas were all completed. In other words, 8 years had passed in the outside world since Lu Yin had issued the mission. 800 years had passed in the 5 spirit races. Time flow had accelerated by 100 times, and the Tianyuan universe had increased by nearly a third. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. Of the 200 progenitor techniques, the greatest anticipation was still the microarray weapons. Lu Yin's original mission was to create 10,000 microarray weapons with 108 combinations. This was a terrifying number, and once it was completed, Lu Yin was confident that he would be able to deal with any crisis. Now the microarray weapons were already being mass-produced, and they would be completed very soon. The Tianyuan universe's strength had increased exponentially. The spiritualized universe had used its unified cultivation method to create a power that far surpassed the Tianyuan universes. Now the Tianyuan universe was also using its own diversified cultivation method to catch up with the spiritualized universe. No one could say for sure if this power would be able to catch up to the spiritualized universe, but at the very least, everyone could see hope for a battle. Before that, they still had to deal with the threat of the hive. A large-scale increase in strength required someone to take the lead. Lu Yin had temporarily decided on a candidate. Currently, he had a total of 112 black energy sources that he could freely use, and he could directly select 112 cultivators to use them. Even in a parallel universe like the hyperspace, which did not cultivate much, people could use black energy sources. For the cultivation world, it was not difficult to find more than 100 people who could use black energy sources. For the time being, the person in charge of these people was Void Master. The 12 cultivators who could use the power of a progenitor were initially determined to be led by Yi Rou. However, Yi Rou did not want to lead these people, so Lu Yin handed them over to Big Sis. Lu Yin had originally wanted Disaster to lead the 50 people who could use the destructive power of a progenitor in the Calamity expedition. After all, they were his clansmen, but Disaster had refused. It was not that he was unwilling, but rather that the Calamity expedition's combat style was too simplistic. Lu Yin hoped that a powerhouse would lead these clansmen to make up for their shortcomings. Lu Yin thought about it and agreed, so he invited Wood God to lead them. Of the Limitless Empire's mechas, other than those left behind to maintain the connection between the Limitless Empire and the parallel universe, the rest were led by Su Wangtian. Su Wangtian had personally requested this from Lu Yin, saying that he could not stay idle. In reality, Lu Yin felt that it was more because of Big Sis. Big Sis kept causing trouble for him and he wanted to avoid her. Finally, there was the Tianyuan army. The Tianyuan army was the name that Lu Yin had given to the cultivators who were equipped with 108 array weapons. It was similar to the Celestial army, but it was much more powerful. The original cultivators of the Celestial army were directly integrated into the Tianyuan army. The Tianyuan army was equipped with the Tianyuan armor, which could carry 108 array weapons. Lu Yin had requested 10,000 of them, but due to the scarcity of resources, only 3,000 of them could be produced. The rest would be distributed to other cultivators such as those who used the black energy source and so on. The Tianyuan army would have a total of 3,000 people. 3,000 soldiers who could use the destructive power of a progenitor was extremely terrifying. The person in charge was Lu Tianyi. These leaders were actually there to make it easier for Lu Yin to communicate and command. Although there were less than 10,000 people, the power that these people could display was beyond imagination. It was impossible for them to be integrated and used, which was not in line with Lu Yin's original intentions. He did not know how many of these people would be left after the war with the spiritualized universe began. The 5 spirit tribes were still constantly producing, and the various parallel universes had already made the integration of resources their most important task. They were constantly sending precious resources to the 5 spirit tribes. In the above heaven, Lu Yin assigned a mission to Void Master and the others. Destroy the parallel universes. These parallel universes did not have any intelligent life forms. In the previous era of the above heaven, the progenitor had taken in the 3 realms and 6 Daoists as disciples and created the above heaven to destroy these parallel universes so that this universe would no longer exist. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. Because there were too many parallel universes, the universe had collapsed. Now the progenitor was suppressing the sequences cord in Primeval City because there were too many parallel universes. 10 years ago, Lu Yin had sent out cultivators to search for parallel universes that did not have any intelligent life forms and destroy them. This included parallel universes with intelligent life forms that could be transferred over to be destroyed. After 10 years, they had already found many parallel universes and determined their locations. After the mission was given, Void Master, Big Sis, Wood God and Su Wangtian split up. Nobody knew that the above heaven had increased the number of progenitor realm cultivators. These people could not be considered progenitors as they only had the destructive power of a progenitor. They were definitely not a match for a true progenitor, but with the increase in external items, their strength would also increase. Every progenitor realm cultivator with destructive power would be equipped with microarray weapons, battlefield navigation systems, rules and so on. The more external items they had, the higher their destructive power and self-preservation ability would be. One day they would truly be able to match progenitor realm cultivators. This was their path of cultivation. Aside from them, the Heaven's Origin universe had other ways to increase the number of progenitor realm cultivators, such as upgrading the primordial cards of the Lost Clan. The more cards there were, the more progenitor realm cultivators there would be, but the resources required to do so were similarly huge. The human economy was on the verge of collapse, and the various parallel universes were trying to find ways to make up for it. Lu Yin had already done everything he could. In the Fire Spirit Tribe's territory, Void Master had arrived with another person, Lu Yun. Lu Yun was a signpost that could lead them to the spacetime they needed to destroy. 10 years ago, Lu Yin had split up the cultivators and continuously tore through parallel universes in search of a way to destroy them. This method was very risky, but it no longer mattered to the Above Heaven's Origin sect. No matter how many parallel universes they tore through, they were still within the Heaven's Origin universe. There were no parallel universes in the Heaven's Origin universe that could surpass the Above Heaven's Origin sect's strength, or else they would have met long ago. After finding a parallel universe and confirming it, they would leave behind a coordinate seal before returning to the Above Heaven's Origin sect and continuing to tear through parallel universes. These cultivators who were searching for a way to destroy parallel universes were all progenitors, including Lu Yun, Xianxia, Xiaozhen, Wang Jian, and Second Life. There was also the Limitless Empire's 10th ring mecha owner. The entire human world had gathered a coordinate seal for them to search for. Finally, the coordinates were given to 4 people, who then led Void Master and the others to destroy parallel universes. Lu Yun followed Void Master to the place where the Fire Spirit tribe was researching the black energy source, where he saw the 112 people who used it. Lu Yun's feelings were indescribable. As someone who had been controlled by a spacetime warp, he hated the black energy source and the gift technique to the core, especially the black energy source. He felt that any user of a black energy source was an enemy. Now there were more than 100 black energy source users standing in front of him. This power was unimaginable to him and he almost could not believe his eyes. Lu Yun had asked him to follow Void Master here, but he had not told him that there were more than 100 black energy source users. This was a secret that Void Master had told him on the way here. He could only describe this as inconceivable. If the spacetime warp had more than 100 black energy sources, then who in the entire hexagon would have dared to oppose them, let alone Drifting Cloud? The powerful Void Master had more than 100 black energy source users. Even the Eternals would have been shocked. Now it was happening right in front of him. It was too inconceivable. End of chapter. Chapter 33-26. Compared to Lu Yun's disbelief, Xia Zhen and Wang Jian's reactions were slightly better. They were led by Big Sis and would God to see the 12 cultivators with the progenitor corpses, as well as the 50 progenitors from the Calamity Expedition. All of this was acceptable. Even though the Calamity Expedition had 50 progenitors, their strength was not stable. Once they were exhausted, they would return to the Calamity Expedition to be bitten. Even 100 of them would be acceptable, let alone 50. However, Xianxia found it hard to accept the scene in front of him. He was stunned. This is. Su Wangtian looked at Xianxia's shocked expression with satisfaction. How is it? Not bad, right? Not far away there were 82 mechas. This was the total number of mechas that Lu Yun had assigned to complete the mission. There were 50 10th ring mechas, 20 11th ring mechas, and 12 12th ring mechas. These were 82 progenitors, especially 12th ring mechas. In the Limitless Empire they were at the level of a pillar. Even sovereigns were at this level and they were equivalent to sequence law powerhouses. This power was even more shocking than the 100 black energy sources. How could a progenitor compare to a sequence law powerhouse? Xianxia gulped. This power was too terrifying. The current humans were actually able to create such a terrifying power. The outside world did not know about this and this was only what he saw. He knew that there were 4 ways to destroy parallel spacetime. He was one way and there were 3 others. If they were all similar, how terrifying would that be? Xianxia's reverence for Lu Yun deepened. Su Wangtian waved his hand. Let's go. More than 100 black beams swept through space, and the mechas moved unhindered. The progenitor's destructive power was rampant. Beneath Immemorial City, the primogenitor looked at the sequence of strings. They had disappeared again and the number was increasing. It seemed that the pillar had begun to destroy the parallel spacetime. He did not know how many parallel spacetimes he had to destroy to ensure that the Tianyuan universe would not collapse even if he released the sequence of strings. He only knew that it would not be a small number. If he could complete this before the spiritualized universe arrived, the Tianyuan universe would be fine even if they were defeated. The spiritualized universe could only wait for more parallel spacetimes and wait for an opportunity to restart the universe. This opportunity was also the Tianyuan universe's chance. What he needed to do now was to find a way out for the Tianyuan universe. It was impossible for the war to end quickly. If the Tianyuan universe lost all hope in this war, then the destruction of the various parallel universes of the Tianyuan universe would be the path that Lu Yun had set for himself. He did not wish to walk down this path, so he wanted to see how the upcoming war would play out. There were many parallel universes in the Tianyuan universe. Not every parallel universe knew about the above heaven sect. He did not know which parallel universe the Xian dynasty was in. They did not know about the above heaven sect, the Eternals, or the Six Directions Guild. They had their own parallel space-time. The Xian dynasty was just like its name. It was not called the Xian dynasty from the very beginning, but changed as the situation changed. The entire parallel universe was controlled by two empires. The parallel universe was not big. The sun was the same as Earth, rising from the east and setting in the west. Hence, the two empires were named after the east and west. Whoever was strong was called the Eastern Mountain Dynasty because the sun rises in the east. Whoever was weak was called the Western Mountain Dynasty because the sun rises in the east. Sunset Mountain. The Xian dynasty had used this name for a very long time, but it had always been suppressed by the other dynasty and could not change its name. That was until a few decades ago when the Western Crown Prince of the Xian dynasty had cultivated all sorts of insects from who knows where and used them to overwhelm the Eastern Mountain Dynasty. In an extremely short amount of time he had destroyed the entire Eastern Mountain Dynasty and unified the parallel universe, ending the struggle between the two empires. The Western Crown Prince had kept the name Xian dynasty, as he believed that this name would bring him good luck. What he wanted was not just one parallel universe, but many connected parallel universes. He wanted to control the universe and become the overlord of all ages. He had the confidence to do so. The Western Crown Prince swirled his wine cup as he looked at the jade-colored insects that covered the sky. The sparkling and translucent dark red wine was especially beautiful under the night sky, and it complemented the jade-colored insects. It was too beautiful, too beautiful. Behind the Western Crown Prince was a group of beautiful women whose clothes did not cover their bodies. All of them looked at his back with worship and reverence. He had created a legend in this time and space. The two grand empires had been fighting for supremacy for countless years without any results. However, the West Crown Prince had only used a few decades to settle the other grand empire. He dominated the universe and was invincible. His legend would be passed down forever in this parallel space-time. "Get out," the Western Crown Prince said calmly. The group of women quickly left. After they left, the void behind the Western Crown Prince distorted, and a strange object appeared. It looked like seaweed with green vines that twisted and floated in the air. In the middle was a deep black color and only its eyes were frighteningly white. If there were still people here, they would definitely recognize that this creature was the totem of this time and space. During the time when the two empires were fighting for supremacy, or even before that, this creature was the only totem of this time and space, the only god. Although the totem had been passed down, this creature had never appeared before. But now it had appeared behind the Western Crown Prince. Too slow, still too slow. Xianxia, can the breeding speed of the insects be faster? The Western Crown Prince drank a mouthful of wine and asked. Behind him, Xianxia, who was in the form of the algae god, said in a crisp voice, "It's already very fast. Look at this starry sky, they can cover the entire starry sky." The Western Crown Prince's lips curled up. "Yes, covering the entire starry sky. Isn't it beautiful? How about those insects? Some are powerful, some failed and were eliminated. I want the powerful ones, the more powerful the better. I want to sweep through one space-time after another. This universe isn't just one space-time, there are a few that are connected to us. But those space-times are developing too slowly, and some don't even have intelligent creatures. The flow of time in those space-times is about 5 times slower than ours. If our space-time is the same as theirs, you won't be able to unify the entire space-time." The Western Crown Prince sneered. 5 times, they can only blame themselves for being unlucky. The flow of time is so slow. When this space-time can't handle the number of insects, it will be the start of my conquest. You have to be careful too. There are so many parallel space-times, there might be a powerful civilization. No matter how powerful they are, they can't surpass me. The Western Crown Prince held up the insect nest with infatuation. It was too beautiful, too beautiful. This was the brilliance of power, the taste of authority, the color of conquest. The Western Crown Prince and Xianxia stood in the palace and looked into the distance. They liked it like this. It was as if they could see the entire parallel space-time, and the stars in the sky were covered by the insects. A few days later, the Western Crown Prince received a report. "What? The space-time connected to us has an abnormality?" Reporting to the Crown Prince, That spacetime constellation has completely changed. Seems to be in complete chaos. What's the reason? It hasn't been investigated yet. The people we sent there fell into the constellation and died. There's a large area of chaotic constellation blocking the spacetime. Trash. The Western Crown Prince raised his hand and pointed at the starry sky. Numerous huge stone dragons walked in the void and slowly combined. Over 10,000 stone dragons finally combined into a creature that looked like a flying dragon. It twisted and wriggled in the starry sky, causing countless people in the Western Mountain Empire to be excited. They had seen with their own eyes how this huge creature destroyed the Eastern Mountain Empire. This was a symbol of invincibility. Follow it. The cultivator who reported was excited. Yes, thank you for the Crown Prince's gift. Being able to touch those insects at close range was already something that countless people in the Western Mountain Empire were envious of. And with over 10,000 stone dragons combined, that huge deterrence was like the Western Mountain Empire at its peak. After this investigation, this person would definitely become the envy of the entire Western Mountain Empire. He would have a meteoric rise because he was able to touch that flying dragon at close range. The Western Crown Prince was satisfied. The more his subordinates respected the insects, the more they respected him. He liked to see everyone looking up to the insects. Soon that person carefully climbed up the stone dragon. The stone dragon twisted and then flew rapidly in a certain direction. Behind him, countless people from the Western Mountain Empire were looking at him with envy. The stone dragon was extremely fast. Soon it passed through the twisted darkness and arrived at another parallel spacetime. The moment they arrived, the person lying on the stone dragon was shocked. It changed again and became even more chaotic. If this continued, this spacetime would be gone. What exactly happened? He pointed in a direction and the stone dragon brought him through the void. Soon he saw a huge creature in the distance constantly destroying the starry sky. He was furious. Where did this creature come from? It was actually destroying this parallel spacetime. This parallel spacetime was connected to the Western Mountain Empire. So, in the distance, a 10th ring mecha was continuously attacking. It wasn't easy to destroy a parallel spacetime, especially when this parallel spacetime was especially big. Many mechas were scattered. It would probably take a few more days to destroy this parallel spacetime. Suddenly, the mecha's alarm sounded. A creature was approaching. Inside the mecha, Dian looked over and his eyes widened. Stone dragon? The stone dragon approached from afar and formed the shape of a flying dragon. The moment it got close to the mecha, it swung its tail fiercely. With a bang, the mecha was sent flying. Dian almost fainted. What a terrifying power. With just one attack, the mecha cracked. It was definitely the destructive power of an ancestor. On the back of the stone dragon, the people from the Western Mountain Empire were shocked. It actually didn't shatter. This was a stone dragon, the symbol of the Western Mountain Empire's invincible power. How could it not shatter this creature? What was this? He didn't expect to communicate with this creature. They were of different species. How could they communicate? In the mecha, Di Yen recovered and immediately reported to Su Wangtian. In front of him, the stone dragon was approaching again. Its power was extremely strong. Di Yan's eyes were fierce. Did it really think that a bug could overturn the heavens? He raised his hand and the mecha raised its arm at the same time. The stone dragon nimbly dodged and swung its tail again. This time Dian was prepared. A spear appeared in his other arm and he stabbed it. With a crack, the spear broke. However, the stone dragon was also pierced by the spear and fell into the starry sky. The mecha raised its arm again and the light beam hit the stone dragon. In an instant, a part of the stone dragon was destroyed. Chapter 33:27. The person on the stone dragon was shocked. How could it be so powerful? He hurriedly tried to control the stone dragon to escape, but the stone dragon was a bug and would not listen to him. Even though there were fewer of them, the remaining ones still charged towards the mecha in the shape of a flying dragon. A loud explosion sounded and Dian coughed out blood. The mecha raised its hand and shot out beams of light in all directions, hitting the stone dragon from time to time. As the stone dragon became smaller, its destructive power naturally decreased as well. The person on the stone dragon's back was already dead. It was impossible for him to survive such a concentrated attack. In the distance, mechas approached one after another. Su Wangtian stepped out of the void and looked at the stone dragon that was fighting with the mechas. He did not expect there to be bugs here. It was not easy to nurture a stone dragon. He subconsciously tore open the void to check if there were any Frisia in the world of nothingness. He heaved a sigh of relief. There were none. Where did these stone dragons come from? Stop. Su Wangtian ordered Di Yan to stop. There were less than 100 stone dragons left and they were still in the shape of a flying dragon. However, these 100 stone dragons only had the destructive power of a peak envoys and could not cause any damage to the mechas around them. The stone dragon charged towards one of the mechas. Behind Su Wangtian, Xianxia walked out and exclaimed, "Stone dragon! Report to the above sky sect that there are stone dragons here." Su Wangtian said. Xianxia did not dare to delay and quickly reported back to the above sky sect. Seeing that the stone dragon was not giving up, Su Wangtian waved his hand and killed more than half of the stone dragons. Only 2 or 3 of them were left alive and they wobbled towards a certain direction. Only a few of them were left and they did not continue fighting. Many of the bugs that Lu Yin and the rest had exterminated had this characteristic. When there were too many of them they would fight to the death. When there were too few of them they would escape and look for the nearest bug nest. Su Wangtian brought all the mechas and followed the stone dragon. He wanted to see where the bug nest was. Soon the stone dragon passed through the dark and distorted void and returned to the Xishan Empire. In the Xishan Empire's palace, the West Crown Prince's expression changed. Behind him Xianxia appeared. Why did so many stone dragons die? What happened? The West Crown Prince's eyes flashed with killing intent. Who dared to attack his stone dragons? Soon when Su Wangtian and the rest arrived at this spacetime, the West Crown Prince knew that the entire spacetime was filled with bugs. The Western Crown Prince wasn't the only one who knew about Su Wangtian and the others. Su Wangtian and the others also saw the endless number of insects that filled the spacetime. There were green robes, guardian dances, stone dragons, Big Dipper sword. Seeing this scene, Su Wangtian's expression changed. So many. No, the flow of time in this spacetime is different. Around them, the sea of insects began to move. Streaks of light shot out from the sea of insects, coming from the guardian dance. 10,000 guardian dances could reach the destructive power of an emissary, and 100,000 guardian dances could reach the destructive power of an emissary at its peak. This was already the limit of the guardian dance, and each streak of light represented the destructive power of an emissary at its peak. As far as the eye could see, the streaks of light seemed to light up the sky. Countless streaks of light shot towards Su Wangtian and the mechas around him. Streams of light collided and Shouwu corpses fell down in droves. It was an extremely spectacular sight. In the next moment, countless stone dragons came from all directions, forming into flying dragons that rushed out. Su Wangtian's eyes turned cold. This insect nest should be the largest one he had ever discovered. He just didn't know what kind of insects it had bred. He raised his hand and struck out with his palm. Black and white chess pieces revolved around him, turning into beams of light that swept out in all directions. Even Shilong, who had the destructive power of an ancestor, was no match for Su Wangtian. Behind him, a group of mechas rushed out and attacked the sea of insects. Within the Xishan Empire, the West Crown Prince's face darkened. Why are there so many experts? The first wave of attacks from the Guardian Dance was to test the waters. Those huge creatures completely ignored the Guardian Dance and the one at the front was a human. Just like them, he had the power of legends that could split the heavens and earth apart. Xian, that person definitely has the power to fight with you. Xian said in a clear voice, I can feel his strength. Prepare to retreat. If those creatures aren't all of them, our sea of insects might not be able to stop them. As expected, there is a powerful civilization in this spacetime. The West Crown Prince clenched his fists. I don't care what civilization he is from. If he dares to provoke me, he must die. Shilong's corpse continued to fall. Looking around, there were countless flying dragons in the sky. When the 7-star sword covered the entire sky, Su Wangtian's heart sank. 10th ring mechas retreat. A 10th ring mecha was only at the level of an ordinary progenitor. The 7-star sword's speed was close to that of a progenitor. The combined impact of countless 7-star swords was enough to tear a 10th ring mecha apart. Behind him, Di Yan's face turned pale. There were actually so many insects. The 10th ring mechas all retreated from the West Mountain Dynasty's spacetime. Su Wangtian waved his hand, and the black and white chess pieces covered the sky and covered the stars. They destroyed an area and headed towards the Sea of Insects. A large part of the Sea of Insects was destroyed, revealing the world of nothingness. In the world of nothingness, there was an endless amount of wild orchids. Su Wangtian's eyes narrowed. There were so many wild orchids. This meant that the ghost orchids had also appeared. Sharp and strange sounds entered Su Wangtian's ears. Horrifying faces appeared one after another, jumping through space and heading towards Su Wangtian. In all directions, ghost orchids jumped out of the void and attached themselves to the mechas. Sounds of cracking could be heard. The seven-star sword and ghost orchids covered the entire sky. In the blink of an eye, mechas were destroyed. The people inside didn't even have time to scream before their flesh was devoured. 11th ring mechas retreat. Su Wangtian shouted. The black and white chess pieces continued to sweep through space, destroying the Sea of Insects. However, they were still powerless against the Sea of Insects. Beside the West Crown Prince, Xianxia disappeared. In the past, no one had thought about how many insects there were. But now Su Wangtian saw it clearly. Even if he could destroy an area with his strength, it was only a small part of the Sea of Insects. There was no way he could destroy the entire Sea of Insects. 4 of the 11th ring mechas were destroyed. The remaining 16 mechas all retreated. Only the 12th ring mechas were still intact. They continued to kill the insects. One by one, the giant mechas were attached to the ghost orchids. The people inside looked at the horrifying ghost faces. The mechas couldn't be destroyed. Once they were destroyed, they would die without a doubt. Su Wangtian lifted his foot and kicked with his slipper. A terrifying force tore the void horizontally, almost splitting space into two. Countless people from the West Mountain Empire looked at the space that was split into two. Their faces were filled with shock. They didn't understand what had happened. The West Crown Prince's face turned ugly. Where did such a terrifying expert come from? By sun. An old woman in luxurious clothes stumbled over. She was supported by her maids. Her face was pale. The West Crown Prince frowned. Mother, why are you here? The old woman was afraid. My son, who is attacking us? Are they the remnants of the East Mountain Empire? No one from the East Mountain Empire escaped. Mother, don't worry. If that's the case, why are they attacking us? Let's make peace. Look, the space has been split apart. The insects are dying. This person is not to be trifled with. The West Crown Prince was annoyed. He waved his hand. Bring Mother back to rest. I have my own plans. My son, listen to Mother. He dares to attack even after seeing the Sea of Insects. This person is definitely not to be trifled with. Don't fight. Don't become enemies. My son. The old woman was taken away. The West Crown Prince looked at the space. Make peace? Let's see if you have the ability to do so. In the space, Su Wangtian held his slipper tightly and smashed it down. He tore the space apart and killed the insects. Countless insect corpses fell, but more insects came. They were not afraid of death. Behind him, a 12th ring mech began to crack. Countless 7-star swords continued to strike the same spot on the mech. It was equivalent to countless progenitor realm attacks. Although a 7-star sword would die with each strike, the remaining 7-star swords were still endless. The energy absorbed by the Frisia was transferred to the ghost orchids. It was as if a strange light appeared in the world of nothingness. The ghost orchids screamed and charged towards the 12th ring mecha and Su Wangtian. From afar, the mecha's huge body was covered. It was impossible to see them. Su Wangtian smashed a star with his palm. These bugs were of no threat to him, but there were simply too many of them. Seeing the 12th ring mecha being destroyed, he took a step forward and appeared beside the 12th ring mecha. He pushed it out of this space and said, "The other 12th ring mechas retreat." He was determined. He did not believe that he could not get rid of these insects. Even if he used his slipper, he would be able to kill them all. Suddenly, danger appeared. Su Wangtian dodged to the side. A vine pierced through the void and created a world of nothingness. Su Wangtian looked into the distance. A strange creature surrounded by vines was staring at him. It looked like a seaweed. He had never seen this insect before. Xian stared at Su Wangtian and said, "You're a human too?" "Of course." Su Wangtian shouted. He suddenly reacted and looked at Xian in shock. "What kind of insect are you?" Xian was surprised. "You're asking me? Do you mean you know other insects? Seems like you know about the insect nest." "That's right, there are more than one insect nest. It's not surprising that you have seen it before. This means that the attack just now was not an accident. The killing intent you released when you saw us was not to protect yourself. You had a motive. You wanted to attack us, right, human? Su Wangtan sized her up and his eyes flashed. You're Xian? You do know us well. Then please tell me, what do you think of our insect nest? Xian asked. Around Su Wangtan, countless insects circled around him as they chased after the 10th ring mecha master from this space-time. I'm not talking to you. You are just an insect. I want to talk to your master. Vines danced around Xian's body. I don't have a master. You can only talk to me. Where's the person who nurtured the insect nest? Where's he? I want to talk to him. Su Wangtian said. Xian said, through the other 8 insects, I understand you humans. Seems like you want to kill the person who nurtured the insect nest. Our conflict cannot be resolved. Since that's the case, I will drown you in the sea of insects. As she said that, the vines around her body flew towards Su Wangtian. They were so fast that they surpassed the speed of the 7-star sword. Ordinary Ancestor Realm experts would not be able to see through them. Su Wangtian dodged most of the vines and grabbed the last one. He was almost knocked away. What a strong force. Chapter 33:28. Su Wangtian heard that Xian was the last type of insect in the hive. She had different forms, and depending on what the other 8 types of insects encountered, she would choose the most suitable form. Xian also had the abilities of the other 8 types of insects. The speed and strength of the vines obviously came from the 7-star sword and the stone dragon. She was born with the strength of an ancestor and had an unparalleled talent in learning. She was also very intelligent and was very difficult to deal with. Su Wangtian did not expect to meet Xian first. He had to admit that this form was very ugly. Suddenly, an intense pain spread throughout his body. This pain immediately reminded him of Qianli. Qianli was the only one not in the sea of insects. Her appearance would bring unprecedented pain to intelligent creatures. This spacetime was obviously controlled by the hive's master, and he would not bring pain to this spacetime. Su Wangtian's pain came from Xian and the vines. In front of him, the vines attacked again. Around Su Wangtian, under the black and white chess pieces, a chessboard could be seen. He liked to play chess. It was not just a hobby but also a rule. Because it was a rule, he could not use his cultivation to improve his chess skills. His chess skills were not even comparable to an ordinary cultivator. He could only create a secret technique like repentance chess. However, in terms of the sequence of rules, he was the master. The chess pieces can be destroyed but the chessboard cannot. As he finished speaking, the pain in his body and the vines in front of him disappeared. The chessboard under Su Wangtian's feet was impregnable. Around the chessboard were broken vines. Xian was shocked. There was such a power. It still needed to be learned. Su Wangtian stepped on the chessboard and rushed towards Xian. Xian's body suddenly disappeared into the world of nothingness. Trying to escape? Su Wangtian waved his hand and the chess pieces pierced through the world of nothingness. At the same time, they also pierced through Xian, causing her great damage. However, soon after, countless ghost orchids covered the world of nothingness and rushed towards Su Wangtian. The number of ghost orchids made Su Wangtian's scalp numb. He could not stay in the world of nothingness for long. He could only expand the chessboard and see if he could keep Xian here. As the chessboard shook, all living creatures within the range of the chessboard were destroyed. Su Wangtian walked out of the world of nothingness and looked into the distance. Is Xian dead? In the adjacent space-time, 2 10th ring mechas were destroyed at the same time. They came from the 7-star sword and the ghost orchids. All the mechas retreated from the Xishan world of nothingness. However, there were still countless bugs chasing after them. The world of nothingness. Of the mechas can't hold on. At this moment, a strange feeling swept past, and in the next instant all of the jade-colored insects turned into dust. Another figure appeared. It was Xianxia. The starry sky around his heart spread out. Wherever it went, the sea of insects would disappear, destroyed by the majestic power. The general appointment platform and the divine seal catalog both appeared. Numerous figures walked out, killing in all directions. Su Wangtian looked back. The most important thing now was to find the master of the hive. Back in the Xishan Imperial Palace, the West Crown Prince had already disappeared. Xian was still alive and she knew that she was no match for Su Wangtian. This was the first time she had seen a technique like the sequence laws. Su Wangtian himself was also very strong, so she could only flee. As for the Sea of Bugs, it was the best way to delay Su Wangtian. Su Wangtian didn't know much about the Xishan Imperial Palace, so he didn't reach the palace immediately. By the time he arrived, the West Crown Prince had already been taken away by Xianxia. Lu Yin was only one step behind Su Wangtian. His knowledge of spacetime was much better than Su Wangtian's. The Sea of Bugs rushed into the palace. Inside the palace, the people from the Xishan Imperial Palace died one by one. Without the West Crown Prince restraining them, the bugs didn't care about them at all. The chessboard beneath Su Wangtian's feet enveloped the palace, stabilizing the space around it. Lu Yin found the West Crown Prince's mother because she was dressed in the most luxurious clothes. Lu Yin had been the Great Yu Empire's royal regent before, so he knew who to look for in the palace. Outside the palace, the God Sealing Catalogue and the General Appointment Stage's power continuously killed the Sea of Bugs. Xia Shenji also entered the palace, bringing along experts from the Above Heavens sect. Inside the palace, the old woman collapsed on the ground. Sin. Lu Yin stared at her. Who is the master of these bugs? Where are they? Tell me. The old woman looked at Lu Yin. Are you from a parallel space-time civilization? Tell me. Lu Yin barked. Even a second of delay would allow the hive to escape. The old woman was afraid. It's my son, the West Crown Prince. He got these bugs from somewhere. Where's he now? Lu Yin's killing intent enveloped the old woman, causing her face to turn pale. In the precious space-time. It's a very small parallel space-time that's connected to the Xishan Imperial Palace. He should be there. Lu Yin knew the direction to the precious space-time and immediately headed there, leaving this space-time to Su Wangtian. The precious space-time was located in the northwest corner of the Xishan Imperial Palace's space-time, and it wasn't connected by humans. It was just like the other parallel space-time that was unintentionally connected to this space-time. Lu Yin rushed into the precious space-time and was greeted by all kinds of bugs. However, these bugs were different from the ones that Lu Yin had seen before. They had different shapes and abilities. Seeing this, Lu Yin's heart sank. The hive had developed to the second stage. Grand Elder Gu said that the first stage of the hive was to breed 9 types of bugs. When Xian came out, the second stage would begin. No one knew what kind of bugs would appear at that time, but the hive would breed the most suitable bug according to the current spacetime, just like Xian. The difference was that there was only one Xian, and each hive could only breed one Xian. However, the second stage of the hive could be like the other 8 types of bugs, endless as long as there was enough time. The precious spacetime was very small. Lu Yin looked around and didn't see anyone. The West Crown Prince really ran away. He destroyed the bugs in the precious spacetime and returned to the Xishan Imperial Palace's spacetime. Su Wangtian quickly came over. There's a 10th ring mecha missing. Lu Yin was shocked. When? Su Wangtian said, I don't know. He blamed himself. It's Xian, it must be Xian who took it away. Xian had the most suitable cultivation talent and intelligence for the current spacetime. Its starting point was the progenitor realm, and it also had the abilities of the other 8 types of bugs. Given enough time, it would reach unimaginable heights. In Grand Elder Gu's universe, many of their final opponents were Xian. Xian was the most difficult to deal with. Putting aside whether they could find her or not, whether they could get rid of her was another matter altogether. Once Xian escaped, it would be a disaster. No one would have thought that Xian would steal a 10th ring mecha in this war. It might not be what it wanted, but what it really wanted was the person inside the mecha. Limitless Empire. Lu Yin muttered to himself and immediately returned to the primordial space. When he arrived at Limitless Empire, he saw a sea of bugs appearing from all directions. Limitless Empire was in a state of panic. Lu Yin's face darkened. Bastard, he immediately ordered the Limitless Empire to be sealed, not allowing any bugs to escape. The bugs must have come to Limitless Empire because of the person inside the 10th ring mecha. Lu Yin's reaction was very fast. When he learned that a 10th ring mecha had disappeared, he came to Limitless Empire. The whole process was not long, but the bugs were also here. It must have been the person inside the 10th ring mecha who tore through the void and brought them here. However, the person controlling the mecha must be an ordinary person who could not cultivate. It was impossible for them to reach the level of tearing through the void so quickly. Lu Yin thought of Qingyi, which was used to assist in cultivation. The West Crown Prince had cultivated the bugs to an exaggerated degree. It was not impossible for him to use Qingyi to forcefully raise the strength of a 10th ring mecha to the level of tearing through the void. After all, the West Mountain Empire's space-time flow was 5 times faster than the outside world. This meant that the West Crown Prince had never left the West Mountain Empire's space-time. Lu Yin's face darkened. He released the space in his heart to search for the West Crown Prince. Found him. Limitless Empire did not expect to encounter a sea of bugs. Many mechas fought against the sea of bugs. The sovereigns were controlled by EE. The 10th ring, 11th ring and Optimus Prime's 12th ring mechas were guarding the periphery, preventing the bugs from entering. However, all of this changed with the appearance of intense pain. The pain caused by Qianli caused the Limitless Empire to fall into despair. Countless people could not bear it and committed suicide. In a corner of the Limitless Empire, the West Crown Prince's expression was ferocious. He had fallen into madness. It was all fake. He was not the master of the bugs. Xian was. He thought that Xian had brought him away because he was the master. He did not expect that his purpose was only to attract the attention of this civilization so that Xian could escape. Fresh blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. His tongue had been cut off and his limbs were also cut open. Xian had connected them with vines so it was not obvious from the outside. He could not say a word. Above his head, the giant stone dragon's shadow loomed over him. It was not protecting him but staring at him. He had always regarded the stone dragon and the other bugs as his own. Now these bugs were incomparably ferocious and terrifying in his eyes. The void trembled. All of the bugs were destroyed, turning into jade-colored fragments. Above the West Crown Prince's head, jade-colored fragments fell from the stone dragon. It was as if jade-colored rain had fallen in the Limitless Empire. Lu Yin stood in front of the West Crown Prince. You are the master of the bug nest? At the same time, at the point where the Limitless Empire was connected to the primordial space, a flying ship crossed over. When Lu Yin gave the order to seal the Limitless Empire, the flying ship flew towards the Limitless Empire to seal the entrance. However, there were no signs of wriggling on the walls of the flying ship. It was not the brocade azura but Xian. Within the Limitless Empire, Lu Yin looked at the West Crown Prince and frowned. You. The West Crown Prince's body fell and his limbs were scattered. Fresh blood flowed from his mouth. He opened and closed his mouth looking at Lu Yin pitifully. His eyes were pleading. Chapter 33-29. Lu Yin's eyes dimmed. Bait. The West Crown Prince was just a bait. The moment he found the West Crown Prince, Xian had already escaped. No wonder Grand Elder Shangu said that every Xian was a disaster. They were too smart and had the most suitable cultivation talent for this space-time. Once they grew up they would be very troublesome. This was more than troublesome. Xian took the hive away too? Lu Yin looked at the West Crown Prince and asked. The West Crown Prince spat out blood and his eyes dimmed. Finally he died, unable to say a word. In the distance, the people from the Limitless Empire rushed over and bowed to Lu Yin. Lu Yin sighed. It's fine now. Shang Tianzong and the rest were puzzled but did not dare to ask. Lu Yin did not leave and just stood there. No one knew what he was waiting for. After a while, Su Wangtian arrived with Xian in his hands. Was Xian smart? Of course. When it fought with Su Wangtian, it had already thought of a way out. It always felt that there must be a powerful civilization in the universe. Otherwise, why would it be born? It was born with a mission. Su Wangtian dared to take the initiative to attack when he saw the sea of insects. This meant that this civilization was powerful. Xian fought with Su Wangtian while controlling the insects to capture mechas in the parallel spacetime. It was to understand this spacetime and leave the West Mountain Empire. The West Crown Prince was no longer useful. It thought that it could defeat Su Wangtian and the rest and had time to slowly understand them. However, Su Wangtian's strength was beyond its expectations. It was not a match for him and had no choice but to escape. However, escaping was not an easy task, especially since it was not sure if Su Wangtian was the strongest in this civilization. Logically speaking, it should not be. How could the strongest in a civilization charge and break through enemy lines from the start? It had thought of many scenarios. It wanted to choose the safest way, which was to tear a hole in the parallel spacetime and leave. However, its pride and arrogance made it try another way out. which was to enter the limitless empire and use the West Crown Prince as bait while it left to go to that powerful civilization. It believed that it would succeed because its plan was meticulous. The limitless empire was attacked by the insect sea, and it had also successfully arrived at a foreign starry sky. This starry sky must belong to some powerful civilization. It could understand it, but it had not expected to be ambushed. The moment Lu Yin thought of limitless empire, he had ordered Su Wangtian to lie in ambush at the point where limitless empire was connected to the Genesis space. It wasn't that he had anticipated the enemy's actions, but rather that he had considered Xianxia to be his most cunning enemy. The more intelligent a creature was, the more they liked to take risks and play with others. The one true God was like this. He wanted Ancestor Hui to personally witness the defeat of his civilization. Therefore, even though he knew that Hui Wu was a spy, he did not do anything to him. This was used by Ancestor Hui. When Hui Wu became a corpse, Ancestor Hui replaced him and secured victory in the Battle of Immemorial City. Ancestor Hui himself had led the disaster to the Sixth Mainland. There was also Wang Wen and Wei Rong. Both of them were extremely intelligent. Lu Yin had seen too many people like this before. They always had a backup plan, and He Wuxian was no exception. The conceit of a wise man leads to his own destruction. Lu Yin had only taken precautions, but he did not expect Xianxia to be so conceited. If he allowed it to escape, Lu Yin and the rest would have been fooled by an insect. Lu Yin looked at Xianxia, who was thrown to the ground by Su Wangtian, and sized it up. "You are very smart." Xianxia's vines had been cut off by Su Wangtian, and it now looked like a furball with eyes. "Human powerhouse, how did you know where I was?" Xianxia asked in a clear voice. Su Wangtian looked at Lu Yin with admiration. Who would think so much in such a critical moment? Although this person was a junior, he was indeed worthy of being the Tao Master of the Above Heaven sect. He had thought of everything in such a short time. If he had been a little slower, this fellow would have escaped. Lu Yin looked at it. "I don't know. I guessed." Xianxia was surprised. "You are very smart to be able to guess my path. Are you the ruler of this human civilization?" "You can say that." Lu Yin replied. Xianxia said, "I admire you. Human powerhouse, how much do you know about us?" "I know everything that I need to know. The characteristics and abilities of every insect, including you, Xianxia." Lu Yin said. The vines on Xianxia's body swayed. "Since you know me, you should know that I am very powerful. Give me time and I will become your greatest helper. You won't kill me, right?" Lu Yin laughed and pointed at the West Crown Prince's corpse. "You want me to be like him? Human powerhouse, you are different from him. He is just a piece of trash with ambition but no ability. You, on the other hand, have conquered me," Xianxia said. Lu Yin placed his hands behind his back and looked down at Xianxia. "Conquered?" "Is conquered," Xianxia emphasized. The surrounding people retreated far away and looked at Xianxia curiously. It was clearly a furball, but it used the word conquered so seriously. Su Wangtian squinted his eyes. "Conquered? It would be great if he could conquer this thing. It would be a pity if the Sea of Insects and Xianxia died. If the Sea of Insects could help in the war between the Tianyuan universe and the spiritualized universe, there would be nothing to worry about." Lu Yin did not reply, and no one knew what he was thinking. Xianxia was not in a hurry. After a while, more experts from the Above Heaven sect arrived, including Hongyan Mavis. They were all curious when they heard that Xianxia had appeared. Elder Shan Gu hurried over, and when he saw the furball at Lu Yin's feet, his expression changed. "Pathmaster, is that Xianxia?" Lu Yin nodded. "That is what it said." Elder Shan Gu sized up Xianxia, and Xianxia looked up and stared at Elder Shan Gu. It did not care, as this human was not strong. The Lost Clan's strength came from their cards and not their bodies. Elder Shan Gu's aura was not as dazzling as Lu Yin's. "Elder, is it Xianxia?" Lu Yin asked. Great Elder Shan Gu said, "I don't know either. Green immortals don't have a fixed form. They only have the form most suitable for space-time cultivation. In addition to the fixed abilities of the 8 insects, each green immortal has many other abilities. As time passes, more and more abilities are born from cultivation. Each green immortal is an extremely talented cultivator." Xianxia was surprised. "Human, you seem to understand us very well. Since you do, you should know how much we can help you." "I choose to submit." Elder Shan Gu sneered. "Don't play such tricks. Submit." Xian will only submit to one person, and that is the Immortal Master. Xian was shocked, and a white light burned in its eyes as it stared at Elder Shangu. You? Elder Shangu said in a low voice, insects. All insects born from the nest will only listen to the Immortal Master. Even if you submit to us now, once the Immortal Master appears, you will immediately betray us. Xian, don't play such tricks. I know you better than you think. Xian was at a loss. No matter how smart it was, it could not understand the current situation. It was born in this universe. In all its knowledge, other than the Celestial Master who was out of reach and had to submit to him, there was nothing else. It had no knowledge of the universe where the Lost Clan once lived, let alone the Lost Clan. They were just new lives. However, Elder Shangu's understanding of it made it uneasy. It felt like the situation had changed completely beyond its expectations. Elder Shangu faced Lu Yin and bowed deeply. Dao Lord, please destroy Xian. Any Xian will be a strong enemy when they grow up, and their threat level will not be lower than the Eternal Clan's 3 Masters and 6 Boundless. If they work together with the nest, each Xian will be as threatening as an Eternal Clan member. Although it sounded exaggerated, Lu Yin did not feel that it was exaggerated when he thought about the Sea of Insects. Su Wangtian led 82 mechas to fight against the Sea of Insects. In the end, nearly 10 mechas were destroyed, and this was the result of them retreating from the battlefield in time. If they had retreated a little later, the Sea of Insects would have destroyed all the mechas. One had to know that those mechas were comparable to the Progenitor Realm, and could even be comparable to the Sequence Law Realm powerhouses. The biggest advantage of the Sea of Insects was their numbers. There were so many of them that it was terrifying. Although the Eternal Clan's Corpse Kings were numerous, they could not be compared to the Sea of Insects. Xian controlled the nest, and once she matured, the Sea of Insects would be enough to cause a disaster for the human race. Human, don't kill me. I have value and I am very smart. I can adapt to space-time quickly. I can help you cultivate, and I have the Sea of Insects for you to use. Do you have enemies? I can help you deal with them. The Sea of Insects is invincible. Xian was shocked, and she looked at Elder Shangu with hatred as she begged. Lu Yin really could not bear to kill Xian. The Sea of Insects was much more powerful than energy sources and mechas. He even felt that if they were to go to war with the spiritualized universe, they would not need the Tianyuan universe to fight to the death. The Sea of Insects would be enough. Just like how the ancient ancestor used the Tianyuan universe to deal with the spiritualized universe, controlling the Sea of Insects was equivalent to using the Nest civilization to deal with the spiritualized universe. Since Lu Yin stepped on the path of cultivation, he had done too many things like this. He was very familiar with borrowing strength to fight strength. Elder Shangu saw Lu Yin hesitating and bowed deeply. Dao Lord, have you forgotten what we said before? The nest cannot be used and cannot be allowed to grow. Otherwise, even if we defeat the spiritualized universe, how will we deal with the nest civilization? Once the Immortal Master appears, all the insects will become our enemies. Dao Lord, you must not be tempted by the nest. Hongyan Mavis said, if we use the nest to deal with the spiritualized universe, what is the difference between this and Song Xiaoxue using the nest for revenge? Lu Yin closed his eyes. Yes, there is no difference. But if there is a way to prevent the Tianyuan universe from being sacrificed, why not use it? Su Wangtian interrupted, as he had personally experienced the terror of the Sea of Insects. Elder Shangu frowned. You are underestimating the insects. Their threat is definitely above the spiritualized universe. These insects are not humans and they can eat humans. The despair they bring is far greater than the spiritualized universe, especially when they created the Brocade Azura, an insect that can destroy civilizations. Dao Lord, you promised me. Xian's voice rang out. Spiritualized universe? Is it your enemy? Then it is easy. I will deal with it. I will definitely help you deal with this strong enemy. I will not let you humans suffer any losses. You humans have family, friends, and emotional ties, but we do not. Let my Sea of Insects deal with your enemy. You humans will not suffer any losses. Chapter 33:30. Shut up. Grand Elder Shangu shouted. He really wanted to slap Xian to death. Xian also hated Grand Elder Shangu. This human had always wanted it dead. Senior Shangu, Lu Yin said. Grand Elder Shangu looked at Lu Yin. Please speak. Lu Yin looked at him. Xian, can you find Xian? Grand Elder Shangu was stunned. He suddenly remembered that there was a Xianxia hidden in the primordial space that came from Zhou Xiaoxua's nest. His expression turned ugly when he thought of this. Senior, Green Immortal, can you find another Green Immortal? Lu Yin asked again. Grand Elder Shan Gu hesitated for a moment before nodding. Yes, as long as it is within a certain range, Xian can sense the aura of another Xian. I can do it. Are there any other Xian? Human powerhouses, I will definitely help you find them. Xian said anxiously. Lu Yin looked at Grand Elder Shan Gu. A hidden Xian is more troublesome than an exposed one. I need to find that hidden Xian. He then stretched out his hand. Nest. At the side, Su Wangtian passed the nest to Lu Yin. This nest belonged to the West Crown Prince and was taken away by Xian. When Xian was captured by Su Wangtian, the nest also fell into his hands. Lu Yin directly crushed the nest. Xian felt pain when she saw this, but she didn't dare to say anything. Without the nest, no matter how powerful Xian is, it can't breed insects. Lu Yin said. He then transmitted his voice to Grand Elder Shan Gu. I promise you, as long as I find that hidden Xian, I will destroy them. Grand Elder Shan Gu opened his mouth but didn't say anything. He had to find the hidden Xian. He didn't have the ability to do so, only Xian could. Dao Master, you must be careful. Grand Elder Shan Gu said. Lu Yin nodded. Of course he would be careful. Not only that, he also had a test. If he succeeded, he didn't need to kill Xian. If he failed, he could only kill Xian. As a remnant force of the universe, Grand Elder Shan Gu's worries weren't unfounded. Xian was very smart, or rather cunning. It might not be able to guess that Lu Yin would kill it after finding the other Xian. Hence, how to ensure that Xian was really helping Lu Yin was a problem. Lu Yin brought Xian back to the above heaven and raised a finger. 1 year. I think you should understand the concept of time. 1 year, I will only give you 1 year. If you can't find the other Xian, you will die. Xian was shocked. Human expert, no master, if you want to find another Xian, we can't be too far apart. The universe is too big and there are so many parallel universes. It's impossible to find her in a year. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. I don't care. Who knows if you can communicate with each other? The other insects can find the location of the hive. If you can't find Xian, then find the hive for me. Anyway, I'll only give you 1 year. You have to keep your word. The cut vines on Xian's body twisted. Master, I won't be disloyal to you. That old man is too weak, so he is afraid of us. However, you are so strong. Even if I am 10 times stronger, I won't be able to escape from you. I will be of great use to you. Lu Yin's voice turned cold. I trust my own people more than I trust you. I have the confidence to fight against any enemy. It makes no difference to me whether you appear or not. Rather than hurting my own people's hearts because of you, I might as well get rid of you and buy their hearts. You have followed the Xishan Crown Prince for so long. You know better than anyone else about power and people's hearts. I won't lose anything. Unless you are useful, don't blame me. Xian was helpless and didn't know what to say. Alright, follow me. The faster you find the other Xian, the more valuable you will be to me. Lu Yin finished speaking and grabbed Xian. He pulled Su Wang out of the above heaven and used him as a mount. Let's go and travel around the origin space. He guessed that Xian should be in the origin space. If she wasn't and went to other parallel universes, it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. It was still possible to find her in the origin space. As long as Xian wanted to live, she would definitely search seriously. She wouldn't be perfunctory or hide. Lu Yin saw many familiar places. In North Castle Weave he saw the Great Sword Dynasty. In Grand Top Weave he saw the 9 Stacks sect. In Lars Weave he saw the 6-fingered tribe. In Flaxen Weave he saw the ruins of the Tri-Banner Federation. In Adonis Weave he saw Darkstar Gorge. In Vast Earth Weave he saw the Vast Earth sect. There were too many traces left in the Outerverse. As Su Wang traveled, everyone in the Weaves bowed. Lu Yin saw them and they saw him. Their gazes were filled with respect and worship as well as incomparable fanaticism. After traveling through the Outerverse, Su Wang entered the Astral River and casually swung his tail, causing the river to flow backward. This terrifying place that Lu Yin had once not dared to fish in was now as clear as the swimming pool at home. It posed no threat at all. After the Astral River was the Inner Verse, where tributaries extended out. In the past, Lu Yin had only been able to see the tributaries, but now he could see the entire Innerverse. He specifically warned Su Wang not to use too much force, or else the tributaries would be easily cut off. It's already been 3 months and you still haven't found Xianxia? Lu Yin's tone was calm and no one could tell what he meant. Beside him, Xianxia pleaded, "It's not that easy. I also want to find it and help you destroy it, master, but there's too little time. In fact, even though I've traveled through the outerverse, I haven't even sensed 1/10 of it." Lu Yin's gaze was threatening. "Are you saying that it'll take 30 months just to travel through the outerverse?" Xianxia bitterly replied, "That's impossible to calculate. It's not impossible for another Xianxia to appear after we've just found an area. Xianxia's strength allows it to easily traverse the void. Let alone the outerverse, it can even traverse the entire primordial space. Finding it is just a matter of luck." Lu Yin's lips curled up. 9 more months. Master, there's something there. Xianxia suddenly became excited and her vines shot off in a certain direction. Lu Yin's gaze trembled as he stared in that direction. There was a very ordinary planet there that had just come into contact with a cultivation civilization in outer space. It was just like Earth after the apocalypse. Xianxia's vines descended from outer space. To the people of that planet, it was an incomprehensible and terrifying situation. They stared blankly at the vines descending from above their heads. One by one they knelt down and shouted something with fanaticism. To their knowledge, these vines were a staircase to the outer space, a path to another level of life. Countless people wanted to grab the vines. The vines all gathered in one area, which was a desert. In the center of the desert was a city. The vines descended and pierced through the ground, pulling out the brocade azura that was hidden beneath the city. The vines grabbed the brocade azura and hurriedly pulled it back, handing it over to Lu Yin as if it was presenting a treasure. "Master." "Yes, I found it." Lu Yin looked at the brocade azura that was being grabbed by the vines and twisted continuously. His gaze trembled. There was still one more. He had thought that the brocade azura in the primordial space had already been dealt with. Seeing the jade centipede caught by Xianxia, Lu Yin's expression became slightly better. Although he had not found Xianxia, the brocade azura was still very dangerous. Since there was one, would there be a second or a third? At this thought, Lu Yin's expression became even gentler. "Well done." Xianxia was delighted. "Thank you, master." Following this, Lu Yin brought Xianxia around the Innerverse. This time they were much more careful than they had been in the outerverse. They found 2 more brocade azuras, which made Xianxia excited. "Master, it's very difficult to find brocade azuras if they don't appear. Even progenitors can't find them. If there are other insect nests in the universe that have produced brocade azuras, it will be troublesome." "What are you trying to say?" "Master, I'm still very useful. Isn't a year too short?" Lu Yin thought about it. "More than half a year has passed and you still have no clue where the other Xianxia is." Xianxia pleaded, "Master, finding the other Xianxia depends on luck. I have no intention of hiding anything from you." Lu Yin did not speak and just calmly looked at the sky. After a while he said, "You'll be rewarded for finding the brocade azura. I'll give you another year. If you still can't find the other Xianxia." His eyes flashed with killing intent. "I'll kill you." Xianxia wanted to say something, but Lu Yin had no interest in talking to it. He took it to the Neoverse. Originally, 1 year was enough for them to travel through the entire Genesis space, but because they had found the brocade azura, the Innerverse had taken a longer time. Even if they could not find Xianxia, finding all the brocade azuras in the Genesis space would be fine. Xianxia continued to search. Lu Yin looked at Xianxia. This fellow was very useful and it would be a pity to kill it. He hoped that his experiment would succeed. Tuo Lin and Hui Ken of the 3 monarchs of the 6 directions sect parted ways. They had not stayed in the Genesis space for long after leaving the Above Heavens sect. They had listened to Tuo Lin's suggestion and come to the 3 monarchs. Hui Ken did not know why Tuo Lin wanted to come here, but he had no choice but to follow. The 3 monarchs had become one of the endless battlefields and many battles had occurred there. Following the defeat of the Eternals in Immemorial City and the elimination of the Corpse Kings, the spacetime had quieted down. Tuo Lin was interested in traveling through the 3 monarchs, but Hui Ken was not. He wanted to go to the astral tree and return home in glory. "Junior brother, I don't know how long we'll be apart. Take care." Tuo Lin patted Hui Qian's shoulder. Hui Qian was helpless. Senior brother, what's so good about staying in the Three Monarchs? Come with me to the astral tree. At least there'll be people there. Tuo Lin looked at the ruins of the Imperial Realm. Do you know that this is the parallel spacetime outside of the Genesis space that Master truly came into contact with? This place carries Master's confusion and determination about the parallel spacetime outside. Master learned about the Six Directions sect through the people in the Three Monarchs and was determined to come into contact with them. His true control of the Six Directions sect began by emptying the Three Monarchs. This place has a special meaning to Master. The most terrifying thing in a person's life is the unknown. The laziest thing is to explore the unknown. I saw another side of Master here. Chapter 33-31. Hui Qian shook his head. Tuo Lin was always talking about these mysterious things and analyzing human nature. What did human nature have to do with him? He could see through human nature at a glance. Even when he was as weak as an ant, he dared to scheme against a colossus like the Wang family. Since that's the case, we'll part ways first. Of course it won't be long. Senior brother, where are you going next? Hui Qian asked. Tuo Lin replied without hesitation, Six Direction Training Grounds. Hui Qian was speechless. Another place without people. Yu Leng had massacred the Six Direction Training Grounds. That place was already empty. Even if there was a new one, it wouldn't be there. Looking at Hui Qian's departing figure, Tuo Lin shook his head. Junior brother is blinded by prosperity. He doesn't know that he's already walking slower and slower on the path of following Master. Yes, only you and me are left. Xiaoyu, Master must be very happy. We can watch his back as he walks down the same path. Your suggestion is good. I didn't think of it. Then we'll personally carve a statue of Master and carry it on our backs. We'll definitely be able to feel Master's greatness. Xiaoyu, you're the best. In a certain parallel universe of the Heaven Yuan universe, Ancestor Qin, Chu Yi, Ancestor Ku and Mu Zhu had all arrived. They were chasing after the one true God. Ancestor Qin could always find the Forgotten Ruins God's location. The one true God had already changed locations several times. Just as they were about to continue chasing, Chu Yi stopped them. His gaze landed in the distance. There a jade-colored ribbon floated past. Everyone looked over and their eyes widened. What jade-colored ribbon? It was simply a guardian dance that traversed the starry sky. 100,000, million, countless guardian dances connected together, embellishing the dark starry sky with a jade color. Chu Yi casually destroyed these guardian dances. Everyone didn't say a word and continued chasing. After a period of time, Ancestor Qin and the others suddenly felt a sharp pain. This pain was caused by Qian Li. Qian Li was left here. To them, Qian Li's burrs could be easily removed. The pain only lasted for a moment. However, everyone's expression didn't look good. This pain was nothing, but it represented a message, or rather, a warning. If they continued chasing, the one true God and the others would leave behind bugs along the way. This wasn't just a threat to them but also to the parallel universes they passed through. Think about it. Everyone only hesitated for a moment, but they still chased after him. Some things could not be avoided just because of the serious consequences. There was nothing more urgent than eliminating the one true God and the others. In the distance, the sole true deity looked back. Sure enough, there was no one. They still chased after him. In that case, he might as well play around. Yan Gang had been with them for a period of time. During this period of time, he had nurtured many insects. He had already nurtured the brocade azura. He was only missing Xianxia. There were so many of the first 8 types of insects. It would be a pity if he didn't play with them. Not long after, the stone dragon calamity appeared in a parallel spacetime. Tens of thousands of stone dragons spread out and destroyed everything in their sight. There were cultivators in that parallel spacetime, and the strongest was a half-martial ancestor. However, even though a half-martial ancestor could win against the stone dragons, they couldn't face so many of them. Each stone dragon had the strength of an emissary. In a one-on-one battle, a half-martial ancestor could easily kill them. However, if there were too many of them, they could easily bury a half-martial ancestor. The stone dragons did not form into flying dragons. Instead, they spread out to destroy this parallel dimension. Their goal was simple. They would not allow Chu Yi and the others to finish them off easily. When Ancestor Qin and the others came to this spacetime and saw the stone dragon disaster, Ancestor Ku took the initiative to stay and deal with it. They continued the chase. In the next parallel spacetime, countless Qianli appeared, bringing despair to countless people. Then came the seven-star sword. Just these three types of insects brought endless disasters to this spacetime. Helpless, Ancestor Qin and the others could only contact the above-the-sky sect and ask them to send people to deal with the disasters brought about by the insects. Lu Yin contacted Big Sister and Wood God. The 12 progenitors who had symbiotic corpses would work together with Calamity Expeditions people to deal with the insect disasters left behind by Ancestor Qin and the others while they were chasing the only true god. The other insects were still manageable, but Qianli was the most troublesome. The mechas could sweep away Qianli, but they couldn't remove the pain that Qianli brought to others. Only a true progenitor could do that. This was also the reason why the 12 progenitors had taken action. They had symbiotic corpses and had also obtained the ancestral world. As for Calamity Expeditions people, they had no choice. They couldn't let Big Sister work together with Su Wangtian. That would be courting death. Time passed. In the above-the-sky sect Cosmic Ocean, Lu Yin's deep voice sounded, "Time is up. You still haven't found the other Xianxia." Killing intent enveloped Xianxia, causing her to tremble. For the past 2 years she had been secretly cultivating. Lu Yin had brought her to explore the Genesis space, which meant that she had a deep understanding of the Genesis space in humans. This understanding would allow her to transform and find a direction for her cultivation. Even so, she discovered that her strength had increased over the past 2 years, but she still couldn't escape from Lu Yin. The difference was too great. "Master, I'm useful. I can help you find the nest. Xianxia is definitely not in this part of the universe. It's not my fault." Xianxia was terrified because Lu Yin's killing intent was growing stronger. Lu Yin looked at Xianxia. "Your strength has changed a lot over the past 2 years." Xianxia was shocked. "Master, this has nothing to do with me. I didn't mean to hide it from you, but my body has unconsciously changed in a direction that is more suitable for cultivation in this part of the universe. Master, I didn't mean to hide it from you. Please spare my life." Insects gave people the impression that there were many of them, but they didn't have much intelligence. However, Xianxia's intelligence was so high that she didn't look like an insect at all. Lu Yin admired the immortal master who created the nest. Only an immortal realm expert could create such a miraculous life form. "A year's time has passed. Because you found the brocade azura, I let you live for another year. Now that the time is up, you can't make me go back on my words." Lu Yin's tone was calm, but his killing intent continued to rise. He was ready to attack at any time. Xianxia trembled. "Master, I can definitely find another Xianxia. Bring me to another parallel universe. I can help you find her. As long as we are in the same universe, I can, Master. Without me, even if that Xianxia is standing in front of you, you won't know." "That's right, there's still the brocade azura and the nest. I can help you find them. There are so many parallel universes. There must be hidden nest. Master, I'm very useful. I'm very useful. Please don't kill me." Lu Yin looked at Xianxia's pleading and sighed. "You are indeed very useful. I don't want to kill you, but the more useful you are, the greater the threat. Isn't that right? But I belong to you. I'm no threat to you." "What did the Immortal Master say?" "I don't know about the Immortal Master. No Immortal Master has ever appeared. Master, you must believe me. That Immortal Master is definitely not in this universe. If he never appears, what's the difference?" "What's the difference, Master?" Lu Yin laughed. "You are right. Although you only serve the Immortal Master, if he never appears, there is indeed no difference. Alright, I'll give you one more chance." Xianxia heaved a sigh of relief. After 2 years, the vines on its body had already recovered. It bounced twice on the ground. "Thank you, Master. Thank you." Lu Yin raised his hand and a stream of air appeared on his fingertip. He swayed it slowly. "This force is called Flowing Cloud. Cultivate it in the shortest time possible." Xianxia didn't understand and was very uneasy. It didn't understand why Lu Yin wanted it to cultivate Flowing Cloud's force. However, it had no choice now. Lu Yin's experiment was simple. He wanted Xianxia to cultivate Flowing Cloud's force. He would then use Flowing Cloud's force to roll 6 pips and try to integrate it into Xianxia's body. He would then look at its memories and decide whether to kill it or not. Under the starry sky, the dark red land stretched far and wide. Beads of sweat dripped from Yan Gang's forehead as he kept rubbing the worm nest. The last one had come out. It had been 2 years since it was born. During this time, it had even gone to a space-time where the flow of time was different. It was time to come out. Was it called Xian? Good child, come out. In the distance, the one true God and the others stood quietly. Over the past 2 years, they had gained some understanding of the Above Heaven sect. It was said that the Above Heaven sect had discovered a worm nest that had given birth to Xian. The space-time where that worm nest was located was not connected to any of the Above Heaven sect's parallel space-time. It was a coincidence that they had found it. A huge battle had exposed dozens of ancestor-level mechas in the Above Heaven sect, and dozens of ancestor-level experts had appeared to track them down. They were all strangers. Integrating the resources obtained from many parallel spacetimes is enough to allow the human strength to increase by leaps and bounds. Lu Yin's turbid treasures are too suitable to increase the overall strength of the human race. The one true God sighed. The Forgotten Ruins God laughed. The difference in strength is not something that can be made up for with numbers. That depends on how Lu Yin intends to use this number, the one true God said. Black Wuxian was disdainful. The strength of the spiritual universe is too strong. Heaven beyond heaven. Other than that, there are still many incomplete sequence foundations that can unleash great power. The Grandmasters Beyond is a place where all the elites in the spiritualized universe are gathered. People like Tianxi also belong to the Grandmasters Beyond, but they are still nameless. The Imperial Mulberry Sky and the 7 Great Mulberry Skies are all invincible elites. These people are not something that can be made up for with numbers. The Forgotten Ruins God laughed. I almost forgot that you are from the spiritual universe. Black Wuxian, is your heart with the spiritual universe's heaven beyond heaven or with Lord Eternity? Black Wuxian's eyes flashed. I also want to ask Wang Miao Miao, is your heart with Lord Eternity or with humans? Woof. The heavenly hound barked and everyone looked over. Yan Gang was excited as his breathing quickened. It finally came out. Within the worm nest, a ray of light floated out from the last jade-colored ball. It was hard to tell what color it was as it seemed to have all kinds of colors. All kinds of brilliance intertwined, gentle and beautiful. The brilliance slowly floated out and floated in midair before finally condensing into a form under everyone's gaze. A human. Yan Gang was stunned. How could it be a human? The one true God and the others looked at Xian. Was it a human? They knew more about the worm nest than Yan Gang as they were all from the Above Heaven sect. Chapter 33-32. Xian would choose the most suitable form based on the behavior of the previous 8 types of insects and their understanding of the current time and space. So, the most suitable form for Xian was a human? As the brilliance faded, a human figure walked out. He was completely naked and his ash-gray hair fluttered about recklessly. It was a man with a handsome appearance. The space around him trembled as if he contained great power. Every step he took caused the stars to split apart. The majestic aura made Yan Gang afraid to get close. Even the god of forgetfulness and the rest could feel the oppressive aura. He Wuxian raised his eyebrows. Although the progenitor's strength was not weak, it was not enough to threaten him. But what was this oppressive aura? Woof woof. Tengu was alert. The god of forgetfulness looked at the man. Xian, what a mysterious species. Suddenly the man opened his eyes. His scarlet eyes shocked He Wuxian and the rest. Corpse King. No one would have thought that the Xian that was born was actually a corpse king. The one true God was shocked. He walked towards the man. The man also walked towards the one true God. Finally, the two were separated by a meter. They were separated by the golden light of the 6 paths of reincarnation. They looked at each other. Yan Gang was stunned. How could it be a corpse king? It was already unbelievable that it was a human. How could it give birth to a corpse king? The one true God and Xian looked at each other for half an hour. The man did not react at all. The one true God did not react either. You chose the corpse king form because of me? The man spoke. Although his voice was dry, his words were clear and his tone was smooth. My insect instincts tell me that you are the most powerful creature I have ever seen under the starry sky. You have the most suitable cultivation method for this form. The one true God was shocked. What kind of existence could create a species like you? You can choose your form freely and break the rules. The man did not answer. Instead he said, I want to cultivate the power that this body should cultivate. That power is called Corpse King Transformation. I can teach you. Thank you. The one true God looked at Yan Gang and then at the man. Do you have your own consciousness or do you listen to him? Yan Gang was nervous. He did not have the ability to control the hive. He did not know how to breed the insects. Everything was fake. He had no way of controlling Xianxia. The man looked at Yan Gang with a gentle gaze. He is the master. Yan Gang was shocked. Master? He looked at the man in confusion. The man also looked at him. Master, what do you need me to do? Yan Gang looked at the one true God. The only true God raised his head and looked into the distance. They're almost here. Let's go first. After saying that, he led the crowd away. Since you are Qing Xian and appear in the form of a corpse king, from now on I will call you King Qing. Yan Gang, do you have any objections? No problem. You can be called Prince Qing. Thank you for the name, Master. This day was exactly 10 years after the death of the ancient god. It was also 10 years after the discovery of Master Greengrass. 10 years was too short a time in the cultivation world, and Lu Yin did not know when the spiritualized universe would attack. Perhaps it would be tomorrow or perhaps next year or even another 10 years or 100 years. The spiritualized universe was far away from the Tianyuan universe, but with the help of Master Grass, because that long distance was no longer a distance. Lu Yin was looking for an opportunity to bring everyone to the Mirage Domain. He still had one chance to go to the Mirage Domain. The primogenitor, Mr. Mu, and the others might think that they could go there frequently just because they had fixed it, but that was impossible. The Mirage Domain could not be seen and it could only be found through the stones within. Fixing the Mirage Domain only meant that it was fixed in the Tianyuan universe. The Mirage Domain existed in the same space as this universe, but it also seemed to exist in a different space. The primogenitor regretted not digging out more of those stones when he had fixed the Mirage Domain. Back then he had not known that such a shocking change would occur, and he had only thought that the stones he had dug out were enough. In that era, only the primogenitor, those with stones, and his daughter could find the Mirage Domain. Now Lu Yin wanted to bring everyone to the Mirage Domain, but he only had one stone. It was very precious, and he needed to gather all the resources before he could go. Otherwise he would only be able to bring the cultivators there. The rest, like researching microarrays and creating energy sources, would be completely useless. Even if the cultivators cultivated in the Mirage Domain, how much could they improve even if time stopped? Once a life form entered, the Mirage Domain's time would change according to the life form's time. No one could control that time period, and the spiritualized universe might have already arrived by the time they left the Mirage Domain. Unless they could find a second stone that could allow them to enter the Mirage Domain at any time and allow them to leave before the spiritualized universe arrived, it might not be a good idea to enter the Mirage Domain. Other than that, they also needed to find daughter, but she was very difficult to find. Her understanding of time was far beyond what Lu Yin and the others could grasp. They had only found her once before because she had been waiting for Lu Yin. Furthermore, fate had ambushed them and Lu Yin did not want to interfere in case daughter noticed. Compared to the Mirage Domain, he was even more unwilling to waste the opportunity to choose again. He did not know if the stone would return if he used up the opportunity to go to the Mirage Domain. After all, the place he chose again was in the River of Time in the Mirage Domain. Lu Yin did not know how many powerhouses the human race could bring with them, so he could only wait and see when the spiritualized universe would arrive. Path Master, Silver requests an audience, the second Night King said. Silver was quickly brought over and he bowed to Lu Yin. Path Master. Lu Yin looked at him. You've successfully cultivated the blood refinement technique? Your strength has improved a lot. Silver bowed deeply. Thank you, Path Master, for finding my clan's blood condensation technique. My bloodline has been completely purified in 1,000 years, and I'm very close to the original bone grafters. Lu Yin's eyes lit up. The original bone grafters? Lu Yin's expectations for the bone grafters were even greater than the black energy sources and mechas. It even surpassed the 108 microarray weapons that could possibly be mass-produced. This was because once the bone grafters were completed, they would become true peerless powerhouses. Creating a bone arc was equivalent to creating dozens or even more peerless powerhouses in this universe. This was a power that could turn the tide of a battle. However, it was not easy to complete a bone grafter. The one true God was the creator of the bone grafters, which was why he could easily complete a bone boat. Silver was too far away from the one true God and there was no comparison. The only possibility was for Lu Yin to increase Silver's bloodline to a level that was infinitely close to that of the one true god. Then with the help of a wandering corpse's body, he would be able to create a powerhouse through bone grafting. Perhaps it was fate, but Silver's bloodline was already very thin. Lu Yin alone might not be able to do it. Fortunately, Zhou Xian had brought him the blood refinement technique. This blood refinement technique had been given to Lu Yin before. It felt like a perfect match for the bone grafters, and Lu Yin had never thought that it would actually be the bone grafter's strength. It was called the blood condensation technique. Relying on the blood condensation technique, Silver had cultivated in the 5-spirit tribe for 1,000 years. Not only had his strength transformed, but his bloodline had also become incomparably pure, which gave Lu Yin the possibility of creating a second bone boat. Lu Yin was now rejoicing that he had not directly destroyed the skeletons within the bone boat and had instead taken them away. Otherwise, he would not have been able to obtain so many bones from powerhouses to complete the bone grafting. Silver had already extracted quite a bit of his own blood. Lu Yin looked at the large bottle of blood in front of him. "You may leave." Silver bowed once more and slowly retreated. Lu Yin raised his hand and his die appeared. He tapped it and it slowly spun until it stopped at 1. A useless item fell out and he continued at 6. He had no plans to merge with anyone's body, so he continued at 5. Then he continued at 3. Looking at the 2 layers of light, Lu Yin's gaze grew cold. He placed Silver's blood on the upper layer and then began to toss in star essence. For this day, Lu Yin had done his best to gather star essence from the reincarnation spacetime and Lu Yin's origin space. He had used some of it to upgrade resources, create mechas, universal armor and so on, but he had also used some of it to upgrade Silver's blood. There was quite a large amount left over. It could be said that he had paid an enormous price for the 2 parallel spacetimes. As he continued to toss in star essence, Silver's blood also continued to fall, but he could not see any changes. When the blood completely fell, Lu Yin tossed in more star essence, and he could still upgrade Silver's blood. The gap between Silver's strength and that of the sole true god was too great, and Lu Yin did not know how many times he would have to upgrade himself. However, according to his calculations, no matter how much Silver's blood was upgraded, it would only cost him 1,000,000,000,000 star essence at most. This was because upgrading Eternal Darkness and the Heavenly Emperor card would not cost more than that. The sole true god was extremely powerful and he was at the level of Tribulation Transcendence. However, he had only upgraded Silver's blood to a level close to his own, which should be enough for him to upgrade to the primordial realm. Silver's blood fell again and again, and the amount of star essence consumed constantly increased. When Silver's star essence reached around 80 trillion star essence, Silver's blood could no longer be upgraded, and his bone grafter's bloodline had reached its peak. The sole true god had only created the bone grafters, but he was not a complete bone grafter. His own blood contained a corpse king, so he was not a simple bone grafter. Now, Silver's bone grafter's bloodline had reached the peak, which should be similar to what the sole true god had given to the corpse kings on the bone galleys. Silver felt as if he had obtained a priceless treasure. If he could replace his entire body with this blood, his strength would skyrocket. Your strength can increase with time. If you dare to use this blood on your own, I will make you experience despair. Lu Yin's tone was icy. Silver hurriedly bowed. Rest assured, Pathmaster. I know what's important and what's not. Lu Yin did not care what Silver thought, and he did not have the time to guess what this person was thinking. What Lu Yin wanted were bone grafters and to create another bone galleys, one that could contend against the powerhouses that Primeval City had accumulated over countless years. Lu Yin brought Silver to the burial garden, where there were enough wandering corpses for Silver to experiment with. Blood and a physical body were not enough to guarantee success. That was only the first step, and it was just the foundation. If the bone grafters were to succeed, Silver would need enough time. Lu Yin asked the gravekeeper and the others to keep an eye on Silver. Elsewhere, Xianxia had already succeeded in cultivating Lu Yun's power. How long had it been? Even though Lu Yun was an ordinary progenitor, he was still a progenitor who could change the world. Xianxia's so-called successful cultivation was not just the beginning. Chapter 33:33. Lu Yin cultivated Astral Source's power and quickly mastered it, but that was only the beginning, not the end. By now, Xianxia had completely integrated Lu Yun's power. Without looking at her appearance, the people in the drifting cloud space could not tell whether it was Lu Yun or Xian who used this power. Xian's cultivation talent was just too great. She could learn it with a single glance. Lu Yun looked at Xian. It was time. He rolled a 6 and merged it into her body. He wanted to personally experience what Xian was thinking and what kind of creature she was. This time he failed to roll a 6 after 5 tries. He had to wait for 10 days before rolling again. Several days later, a giant stone gate stood at the border of the Tianyuan universe. Lu Yuan closed his eyes and stood guard beside it. He had already stood guard here for 10 years, which was not a long time. He hoped that he could guard here for even longer. The longer he waited, the more time the Tianyuan universe would have to prepare. However, things did not go as he wished. The stone gate shook and Lu Yuan opened his eyes and stared at it. A figure walked out from a crack in the gate, revealing himself to be Tianxi. Lu Yuan's heart sank. The spiritualized universe had arrived. Just you? What a pity, but you're still a primordial realm cultivator. Opening the gate with your blood can be considered the first step for my spiritualized universe to enter the Tianyuan universe. Tianxi suddenly attacked, stabbing his sword at Lu Yuan. The sword was 3 feet long and there was no distance within 3 feet. Lu Yuan had long since understood Tianxi's abilities. He was confident that he could fight Xianxia, but now was not the time to fight. He needed to send news of the spiritualized universe's arrival to the above heaven sect. Suddenly, his expression changed as an indescribable sense of danger descended upon him. A green sword light flashed through the gate, slashing at him even faster than Tianxia. Lu Yuan hurriedly dodged and the God's sealing catalog appeared above his head. Golden light scattered across the border of the universe. Far away, someone opened their eyes. Not good, the spiritualized universe is here. How could there only be one Lu Yuan at the border of the Tianyuan universe? Although Lu Yuan appeared to be standing guard, Lu Yun had arranged for other experts to be in the vicinity, ready to assist Lu Yuan at any time. However, because there was still a single true god in the hive, too many experts had been mobilized. The 3 realms, 6 paths, 3 suns and 6 lords did not have the time to stand guard. He could only send an ordinary progenitor to keep watch. The golden light could be said to be the symbol of the Lu family. When the golden light scattered across the starry sky, that person knew that Patriarch Lu Yuan had started fighting. The spiritualized universe had arrived. In front of the stone gate, Patriarch Lu Yuan's god investiture catalog slammed toward Tianxi. He raised his hand and struck out with his palm. Terrifying power spread out and blasted toward the stone gate. The green sword light was restrained by the god seal catalog. Immediately after, the palm force ruthlessly slammed into the stone door, creating an earth-shattering boom. Tianxi's talent was heaven's view. He could see through all attacks and cultivation methods. Although the god sealing catalog covered his surroundings, it was unable to completely seal him. He easily avoided the divine seal catalog and aimed his sword at Patriarch Lu Yuan. At that moment, great ancestor Lu Yuan's gaze landed in front of the stone door. There a beautiful woman walked out. That green sword light had come from her. The threat she posed to great ancestor Lu Yuan was even greater than Tianxi's. Patriarch Lu Yuan had seen many beautiful women, but the most shocking impression this woman gave him was that she was similar to a Grand Empyrean. This woman's appearance was not inferior to a Grand Empyrean's, and she gave off an arrogance close to a Grand Empyrean. It was as if nothing in the world was in her eyes. This woman was extremely strong. Bang! Tianxi's sword slashed down on the general appointment platform. Lu Yuan pushed the platform aside and pushed Tianxi away. He turned to leave. Tianxi was already very difficult to deal with, but this woman gave him the feeling that she was even more difficult to deal with than Tianxi. The woman raised her hand with her palm facing down. A green water droplet slowly appeared and faced Lu Yuan. The water droplet instantly lit up the entire starry sky. Whether it was Lu Yuan or Tianxi, they both felt their scalps go numb. Tianxi was fearful. Invincible green water sword. The woman casually threw out the water droplet. The water droplet turned into a green sword light that slashed toward Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan turned around. He couldn't retreat. If he retreated, he would be giving up on resisting. He couldn't avoid it, so he had to take this sword. Just as the green sword light was about to descend, the general appointment platform appeared before him. He pushed the platform horizontally and the power of his palms descended. The general appointment platform shook. The green sword light collided with the general appointment platform. Bang! Under Lu Yuan's shocked gaze, the sword light directly pierced through the general appointment platform and hit his shoulder. The sword light went through his shoulder and blood splattered across the starry sky. After roaming the universe for countless years, Lu Yuan had used the general appointment platform to build the reputation of the Lu family. He had never thought that one day the general appointment platform would be pierced through. This woman's sword light was terrifying and unparalleled. In the distance, the woman also exclaimed, "To be able to survive the invincible green water sword, you are qualified to fight with me. My name is Yao, the master of the Green Water Palace in Sky Beyond Heaven, the most powerful person under Xianxia." With that, another water droplet appeared and turned into a green sword light that slashed toward Lu Yuan. Suddenly her expression changed. Behind her, an invisible attack was descending. She had no choice but to divert her green sword light and slashed at the attack. This attack was the Needle of Earth Treasury. Lu Yuan had concealed it with the golden light of the God Investiture Catalog. He had been hiding in the void, waiting for this moment. The moment the woman slashed the Needle of Earth Treasury, Lu Yuan struck out with his palm from afar. A powerful force crossed the starry sky and slammed into the woman's back. The woman was shaken by the palm and blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Lu Yuan hurriedly fled. Behind him, a round-faced elder had appeared. He was dressed like a merchant and held a golden pen in his hand. He looked at Lu Yuan with a smile. "Are you the patriarch of the Lu family in the Tianyuan universe's origin space, Lu Yuan? One of the 6 paths of the 3 realms." People appeared around Lu Yuan. At this moment, the stone door slowly opened. An aura that did not belong to this universe spread out, making Lu Yuan feel unfamiliar. He looked at the stone door. Behind the stone door was a huge thing that looked like a battleship. It was filled with people, and they were all cultivators from the spiritualized universe. With just a glance, he knew that there were no less than 100 progenitors here. The invasion of the spiritualized universe had finally arrived. "Leave him to me," Palace Master Yao said coldly. Lu Yuan's strength was so great that few in the entire universe could match him. She did not feel good after taking a palm from Lu Yuan. Xianxia frowned. "This is a war between 2 universes. Palace Master Yao, the big picture is more important. This universe has the 3 realms and 6 paths. This person is one of them. I want to use his blood to pave the way for my spiritualized universe. The sooner the better," the round-faced elder said in a relaxed tone. Lu Yuan looked around and looked at the round-faced elder. "Who are you?" The round-faced elder smiled faintly. "No need to ask. Let's dye the stone door with blood." As he said that, he took a step forward and waved his golden pen. An unshakable aura crushed over. Lu Yuan's expression changed. This elder was stronger than him, much stronger. He was definitely not at the primordial realm. He was at the bitter adversity realm. Behind him, a green sword light appeared. Xianxia also approached from another direction. With experts from 3 sides surrounding him, it was impossible for Lu Yuan to escape. Behind the stone door, 2 figures stood at the top of the battleship. One was wrapped in a black robe, and the other was a muscular man with short red hair. The 2 of them looked at the battle in the distance. "It's finally here. We've waited for so long. It's time for the Tianyuan universe to end. This universe should be easier to take down than the consciousness universe. Find the Eternals. Our spiritualized universe will embark on the path to the top of the universe. No one can stop us. Kill, kill, kill." Countless voices reverberated on the battleship. They came from the spiritualized universe's cultivators. The progenitor's aura was overwhelming. The other cultivators' eyes were red and filled with killing intent, including some young geniuses. To be able to enter the Tianyuan universe at this time, they had unimaginable power behind them. This was because the spiritualized universe knew that killing in the Tianyuan universe was a harvest, a plunder, and an increase in strength. The Tianyuan universe was the spiritualized universe's treasure trove. They had waited for this day for far too long. Outside the stone door, Lu Yuan faced the round-faced elder's attack and retreated step by step. The powerful force was neutralized by the golden pen. The green sword light descended, bringing Lu Yuan a chill. At this moment, ripples appeared in the starry sky. An invisible force swept through the starry sky and changed the world. There were no stars at the boundary of the universe, but at this moment the stars began to revolve. The black soil turned into spears and stabbed at the green sword light. The sword light was powerful and constantly cut through the soil spears, but it was stopped by the many soil spears in the end. A figure walked out in front of Lu Yuan. "Forefather, are you all right?" Seeing the person, Lu Yuan heaved a sigh of relief. The above heaven sect had arrived. Many powerful auras appeared and descended at the boundary. Chu Yi Hongyan Mavis and the others from the 3 realms and 6 paths, as well as Heavenly Lord Victor Void Master, and the others from the 3 suns and 6 paths. Behind them, the experts from the 8 paths had arrived. The boundary of the universe was already connected to the origin space. The moment the spiritualized universe arrived, the above heaven sect could guarantee that they would fight in the shortest time possible. There was no need for words. What they brought was killing. This was an irreconcilable war between the 2 universes. One side was bound to lose. Outside the stone door, the spiritualized universe's cultivators rushed out. With arrogance and killing intent, they rushed into the Tianyuan universe. Many experts from the Tianyuan universe walked out from the stone door. Most of them were from the above heaven sect. Among them, the mechas were particularly eye-catching. Before the 2 sides came into contact, attacks from both sides had already destroyed the stone door. The round-faced elder's smile disappeared. The Tianyuan universe was already prepared. Well, it was within his expectations. Now let's see how long this universe could resist them. A battle comparable to the final battle in Immemorial City erupted. In an instant, the entire universe was filled with sequence particles. Lu Yin had originally released the starry sky in his heart in an attempt to suppress the spiritualized universe, but he was shocked by the round-faced elder's aura. This old man had incomparably terrifying strength and could easily attack the starry sky in his heart. Furthermore, there were many experts from the spiritualized universe and the range was too large. Lu Yin could not withstand them. Your Tianyuan universe has many experts. I can make the decision to let you all join my spiritualized universe beyond heaven. You can become an independent power like the Jade Water Palace. This is your Tianyuan universe's only chance, the round-faced elder said as he looked at Lu Yin. He recognized Lu Yin. Tianxi had already told the spiritualized universe about the Tianyuan universe. Lu Yin was the spiritual core of the Tianyuan universe. As long as he surrendered or was killed, the Tianyuan universe's strength would be greatly reduced. Lu Yin looked at the round-faced elder. Are you Sang Tian or you Sang Tian? Chapter 33-34. The round-faced elder's expression changed. It seems like you have a deep understanding of our spiritualized universe. I am Sang Tian. A Sang Tian like primordial fiend? Lu Yin was apprehensive. Primordial fiend could fight against Mr. Mu, and if not for the bell's destruction, Lu Yin would not have been able to win. This old man had just suppressed Patriarch Lu Yuan, so he should be a powerhouse who had survived bitter adversity. The round-faced elder looked deeply at Lu Yin. We tried to contact Primordial Fiend and Eternity as soon as we arrived in the Tianyuan universe, but we couldn't contact a single one of them. Where are they? I killed Primordial Fiend, Lu Yin said bluntly. The round-faced elder's lips curled up as he chuckled. How interesting. The great Sang Tian died at the hands of a junior like you? I don't believe it. If you have the ability, try killing me. He then raised his golden pen and aimed it at Lu Yin. Lu Yuan reminded, be careful. Lu Yin sent Lu Yuan out of the void of his heart and towards the round-faced elder's golden pen, attacking the stars one by one. The stars closest to the pen instantly turned golden and broke free from Lu Yin's control. There were no sequence particles, or else they would have been rejected by the void of his heart. The golden star blocked the round-faced elder's path and collided with the other stars, causing a rumbling sound. The round-faced elder walked through the void and tapped the pen lightly, causing the stars to turn golden for his own use. Lu Yin was shocked. That golden pen should be a spiritualized weapon. It was a power unique to spiritualized universes, a symbol of powerhouses. Lu Yin helplessly retracted the void around his heart, but the golden stars remained where they were and completely broke free from Lu Yin's heart. The round-faced elder controlled them to attack Lu Yin. Junior, spiritualization isn't something your Tianyuan universe can resist. Lu Yin clenched his fist. Is that so? He punched out, shattering the golden stars as he charged towards the round-faced elder. The round-faced elder did not care at first, but when the power of the punch approached, his expression changed. The limit of power? The void trembled, and the round-faced elder didn't dare to take Lu Yin's punch head-on. He could only retreat. The golden brush pointed at Lu Yin, and Lu Yin's scalp went numb. He quickly reversed his steps and used parallel time. The round-faced elder snorted, and the tip of the brush moved horizontally. Time was also parallel time, but it didn't mean much to him. Lu Yin punched out once more, and his extremely powerful strength forced the round-faced elder to retreat. That's the limit of a living being. Junior, it's not that unbelievable that you could kill Xianxia. Allow me to send you on your way. He then put away the golden pen and took out a square sign, pointing it at Lu Yin. At that moment Lu Yin felt his mind blur. Terrifying strands immediately swept through the surroundings. Even Chu Yi and the palace master, who were very close, were unable to avoid them. They were both at the primordial realm, but laws could not close in on them, so they were unable to repel the tremendous strands. Chu Yi was shocked. The sequence foundation. For this war he had also followed the one true god over. Only Ancestor Qin, Ancestor Ku and Mu Zhu were following the one true god. Palace Master Yao was surprised. Your understanding of our spiritualized universe is quite deep. That junior is dead for sure. That's the sealed realm. Chu Yi barked. Zhuzi, that's the sealed realm. The sealed realm was one of the 10 sequence foundations of the spiritualized universe. It was ranked 5th and had been condensed by the 359 cultivators of the impression sequence. The impression sequence was ranked 79th out of the 88 sequence foundations of the spiritualized universe. Because it did not have much battle prowess, it was very easy to cultivate. In the spiritualized universe, the heavens beyond heaven controlled the universe and assigned the cultivators to cultivate the impression sequence method. Since ancient times, there were a total of 359 cultivators of the impression sequence method who had spent their entire lives to finally condense the sealed world. Although the impression sequence foundation was not very useful, the sealed realm was extremely powerful. It could reverse heaven and earth, allowing one's impression to replace one's body. If the impression was injured, the body would be injured. If the impression died, the body would die. This was the law, a law that was forcefully formulated to allow one's impression to replace the body. Chu Yi's warning came too late. The moment the round-faced elder faced Lu Yin with the sealed realm and Lu Yin saw it, the sealed realm had already been activated. A figure appeared beside the square sign of the sealed realm, and it was the round-faced elder's impression of Lu Yin. The moment the impression appeared, the round-faced elder struck out with his palm, aiming for Lu Yin's forehead. If he struck, the impression would die and Lu Yin would die as well. Suddenly, the impression disappeared and everything was reversed. The round-faced elder's expression changed again. Time reversal? The small boat of light swept through the void and returned to Lu Yin's side. Lu Yin struck out with his palm, and although this strike did not contain any power, it caused the surrounding sequence particles to boil and become his own. This was the chain palm. The battle techniques created by Progenitor Qin could always be used at critical moments. Since the starry sky in his heart could not repel so many sequence particles, then he would not repel them. He would borrow their strength to attack them. The round-faced elder took out a golden pen and pointed it at Lu Yin. Wherever the pen went, even the sequence particles were dyed gold. Lu Yin hurriedly retracted his palm to avoid it, but the golden light streaked across the sky and into the distance. Along the way, it caused a 12th ring mecha to turn golden as well. Behind the 12th ring mecha was Nong Yi. Nong Yi had also been dyed gold, and he looked like a golden person floating in the sky, lifelike. The next moment, the golden light shattered and both the 12th ring mecha and Nong Yi shattered. Lu Yin was sorrowful. Nong Yi was the first person to enter his god-sealing catalog, and they had worked together to deal with the 4 Libras. But now he had died on the battlefield. There was no time to grieve, and the round-faced elder pointed his golden pen at Lu Yin again. He even held the sealed realm in his hand, ready to activate it at any time. Lu Yin took out Death God Golian, which was now complete. The starry sky in his heart had been released, and the round-faced elder's golden pen continued to cause the stars to turn golden. In the distance, Lu Yin's Golian slashed down with a deathly aura. The deathly aura slashed towards the round-faced elder, who was shocked by the strength of the deathly aura. He used his golden pen to deflect it and split it in two, but there was another layer of power in the starry sky at his heart. The Sky Palace. Within the Sky Palace, Lu Yin had not used up any of his power. After the deathly aura was cut apart, it gathered again and turned into a slash that slashed towards the round-faced elder. The round-faced elder was shocked. A technique that doesn't consume energy? Good technique. He deflected the deathly aura slashes again and again, but the attacks were endless. At the same time, the power of the starry sky in his heart whizzed out and pressed down on the round-faced elder. The round-faced elder had no choice but to retreat from the starry sky at his heart. This was the first time he had been forced to retreat. Lu Yin expanded the starry sky at his heart and enveloped the rest of the battlefield. His power of the starry sky easily crushed a spiritualized sequence expert to death. The round-faced elder had killed the mecha and Nong Yi, and Lu Yin had killed the spiritualized sequence expert. Although he was not the round-faced elder's match, he had many tricks up his sleeve that allowed him to fight. Even the round-faced elder found it difficult to deal with Lu Yin. Both basic and spiritualized weapons could do nothing to Lu Yin. No wonder Tianxi called you the greatest obstacle to defeating the Tianyuan universe. Junior, you are worthy of my full strength. The moment he finished speaking, the sequence particles behind the round-faced elder began to boil. He had used a sequence technique and used the particles to form a humanoid creature. It was incomparably huge and wore a pointy white mask. It looked like a ghost. Even though the starry sky at Lu Yin's heart was enveloped, the sequence particles that formed the humanoid creature did not completely disperse. As the round-faced elder activated the sealed realm, the majestic and terrifying sequence particles actually resisted the repulsion of the starry sky at Lu Yin's heart, allowing the round-faced elder's sequence particles to remain. I am the president of the Spiritualized Universe Commerce Chamber of Commerce, one of the 7 great mulberry skies. I cultivate a sequence technique called God of Death. Behind the elder, the humanoid formed by the sequence particles charged towards Lu Yin, raising a pitch-black arm to grab him. Lu Yin's pupils shrank. God of Death? You can't bear that name. The divine seal catalog appeared above his head, its golden light illuminating the starry sky. One figure after another walked out and charged towards the round-faced elder's sequence technique, God of Death. Far away, Abandoned Path's dagger was stained with blood as a figure collapsed in front of him. This was the second spiritualized expert that he had killed. The first had been a progenitor and had been easily killed, but this one had cultivated a sequence technique. Although Abandoned Path had killed his opponent, he had also been injured. There were too many battlefields in outer space. Not far away, Wooden Carving was fighting against a spiritualized expert who also used sequence laws. There were too many sequence laws powerhouses from the spiritualized universe, and there were also many progenitors. Fortunately, there were also many progenitors on their side, and each of those giant mechas had the power of a progenitor. However, more and more were being destroyed. In outer space, many blood-stained mecha fragments floated about. Abandoned Path looked into the distance and saw that there were many people on the battleship outside the stone door. A considerable number of them were the spiritualized universe's younger generation's elite cultivators. A few mechas had charged over to destroy the battleship, but they had been killed instead. There were experts protecting the battleship. His eyes flashed with ferocity. Master Lu had said that he had created a large number of ordinary progenitor experts to deal with the spiritualized universe's younger generation and to create a gap in the spiritualized universe. Since those mechas could not do it, he would do it. With that in mind, he took a step forward and stepped onto the battleship. When he stepped out again, he was greeted by 2 beautiful young women who stared in shock at the abandoned person who had suddenly appeared. Abandoned Path did not hesitate to slash with his dagger. The 2 women fell and their blood dyed the ground red. Third sister. In the distance, the man was furious and charged toward Abandoned Path with overflowing killing intent. He was only an emissary, but the moment he attacked, his figure was unpredictable. It was not a footwork battle technique but an application similar to the sequence laws, so close, yet worlds apart. Abandoned Path's eyes were filled with killing intent. What a young genius, what a spiritualized universe. He actually had a way to let an emissary come into contact with the sequence laws to cultivate. Once this person broke through to the progenitor realm and mastered the sequence laws, so close, yet worlds apart would be easy. This was the spiritualized universe's cultivation method. No matter how one looked at it, it far surpassed the Tianyuan universe. In particular, this person had a strange weapon in his hand, a spiritualized weapon. He dared to attack a sequence law powerhouse like him, and his will was also firm. This person was definitely one of the geniuses of the spiritualized universe's younger generation. Abandoned Path immediately attacked. His dagger slashed out easily and the man's head fell off. No matter how talented he was, it was impossible for him to make up for the gap between him and Abandoned Path.